Says you are live. Hey everybody, how are you? We're just
Welcome
gonna
in, everyone.
verify that we're live on YouTube.
Happy Thursday.
I
Welcome
know.
back, guys.
Yep, we're live.
Today is episode 2 of the FogCast. Welcome in. We had so much fun the first episode that we had to do another one. We just can't just do one of these episodes. We had so much fun during the haunt season, so it's cool we get to bring these
Hey Lando, welcome in.
fabulous performers out of the fog right here in front of you in your living room. So this is going to be a great episode tonight, guys. I can't wait for you guys to see our two guests, meet our new guest, hear from them, their haunt experiences. So yeah, buckle in. This is going to be a good episode, folks.
Welcome in, MH Reels. We've got Lando. Good to see you. Slim Devin, how are you? MH Reels. Fade to Black was in here earlier. We have our friend Sanchez. So good to see everyone. Slim Devin, thank you for being a member for
Slim.
10 months. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Slim.
All right. Should we delay or should we get right to it?
Let's see what else. What do we got coming on the horizon?
You know
here?
what? This week is a little slow. We've got this, and I think we're going to do a watch party this weekend.
Sounds good to me.
But I don't think we're going to be in the parks this weekend. The reservations have just been
crazy.
Hey, Wendy girl. They've been nasty. I guess they've got the 0-tier ticket selling most of this week, and it has just been really hard to get a reservation. Lando says, are you looking forward to Scary Farm? Yes. We were ready when it ended. And so it has just been the slowest crawl of time. January feels like it lasted a year. But I feel like the spooky things are starting to creep up on us again.
We're almost at halfway to Halloween,
We're
right?
almost at halfway to Halloween. You guys got March Madness coming next month here really quick.
Explain to them what March Madness
March Madness is a fan-based event at Knott's Berry Farm where it marks like that halfway point between Halloween and when the haunt starts. And so as many as possible of the haunters and cast members that work haunt, love haunt, friends of, family, fans, they all gather there together at Knott's. They do a ride takeover. They take some pictures. It's really a good time. So definitely hoping to be able to join that with you guys. Lando says, I met you guys in front of Bloodline last season. I think I remember that. I do remember meeting. Okay. I just completely put it together and I remember exactly where you go in the maze too. And I know we saw you there as well.
Lando, if you'd like to join us on our next episode of the FogCast,
please.
You're more than welcome
Tony Stewart.
to join us on future episodes. So reach out to us.
Crew. All right, I think we have said hello. I know I'm excited. I'm like, let's go.
I know, I'm excited too. That's how much we miss our family, our Living Dead fam at haunt season. So let's bring them aboard. Living Dead, I want you to go ahead and introduce who we got tonight.
All right, so the first person I'm going to bring up, you will recognize from the very front of Grimoire. He's known as one of the camp kids, and he is at the very beginning of the maze, right before you go into the first tent. Welcome in Lawrence, and his person on there is just known as Camp Kid, and we're good with that.
Welcome in, Lawrence.
What up, everyone? Yo up, what up? Coming straight from the Grimoire, straight from the 80s.
I love
Let's do it. I'm ready. I'm ready to
go.
This.
It definitely had that 80s, even Stranger Things feel going on.
You don't understand how many times we got that. Like, because we get a lot of hecklers going, and they're just like, oh, it's Stranger Things. And I'm like, no, it's the Grimoire. And I'm like, no, it's the Grimoires.
It was pretty cool overall, though. I guess from a guest perspective, it's trying to think of something current that you can kind of make it feel like.
I can't blame them. Yeah.
And second, we have got Alex, otherwise known as Leapfrog. And this guy was a berserker in the Bloodline 1842 maze. Alex, welcome in. Thank you so much.
Welcome
for
in,
joining.
Alex.
Happy to be here.
We're so
Thank
excited to
you.
have you. Both mazes amazing. We've got one that was in its, what was it, our second year there with Grimoire. And then Alex, you got to close out a pretty cool maze. That was really exciting. All right. I'm just going to start and jump in with a couple of questions. If you don't mind, then I'm going to show these guys a video of who you are. Spooky Lobby says, let's go, Alex. Welcome in, you guys. Thank you guys for joining us tonight.
And thank you guys here. Thank you for all your support,
for
supporting our friends
these
here.
guys. We appreciate it. We really want to just take and show you guys from all the mazes, all of these amazing characters, and make them feel special. Definitely. Why don't you are the guy behind the camera.
Oh man.
They know you the best.
Ah, dear. All right, we're gonna jump into our first question here.
Hey, does it hush?
This is for both of you. We'll start off with Lawrence first. How did you first get involved acting at Knott Scary Farm, and what inspired you to pursue this type of performance? You could have picked any job out in the world. Why Knott's Scary Farm? Lawrence, why don't you go first?
To answer that, we got to look all the way back to 2019, I think. And it was my first time going to Not Scary. First time going to any haunt event ever. I think maybe when I was really little, I went through a haunted maze and I was like dug my face into my mom's back and cried the whole way through. But going back to 2019, it was for my friend's birthday. We all went to Not Scary Farm, and man, there were two key moments. Two things happened that made me say, man, I gotta do this. The first thing, and I have no idea what order this happened, I just remember them. We'll start with, the one that I remember the best. We were in line at Fireman's Barbecue in Ghost Town. And next to the knife shop, I don't know if you guys know this, but they've got that lighting right there, and they've got that the fog machines in that big open area in front of the Birdcage Theater. And man, they were like some actors, and they were doing their thing. And it's like, yeah, we've been seeing them all night. I'm just hungry. I'm trying to get a turkey leg. Let's get on with it. And the fog came, and the lighting changed, and all of a sudden, these actors disappeared. And now, how old would I be? I would be like 14 years old. So 14-year-old Lawrence couldn't care less in the world. He was excited for this turkey leg, man. And then all of a sudden, this group of these teenage girls, and they walk right into the middle of that fog. And this character, this monster, hit the nastiest slide I ever did see. Right into the middle of this group, man. And they went scattered all over the place, screaming, crying. He got up, so they tried to run away, but then another guy came out the fog from, it was a coordinated attack. It was great. It was beautiful.
Love it.
And I was like, man, I don't know what just happened, but I want to know. And then the next event that happened was at an old maze. God, we missed this maze. I missed this maze. Was the Shadowlands. It's where Mesmer was. And it wasn't even in the maze. It was in line.
Oh.
What I now know, I now, as someone who's done it, I know exactly where this guy was coming from and where he was going. But at the time I didn't. He just so happened to be walking by. It was this samurai, man, and he was clad in this metal armor, and it was heavy. You could see it in the way that he walked, and every time he stepped, you could hear, because it's samurai armor, so it's like layers like that. I forget what they're called, and it's just shaking every time he stepped, and I was like, 14-year-old me's mind was blown. He was like, that was so cool. And, I walked out of that park with my friends, and they all thought it was pretty cool, but my mind was just amazed. I was like, I turned to my dad because he was there. I said, Dad, I don't know what just happened in here, but I got to do it. And so all these years later, I wasn't working a crazy job, and I wasn't in school, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I did it, and it was one of the greatest experiences of my life.
Wow.
That is awesome. I remember that maze. Like,
I do.
It was such a good maze.
Taking it way back.
Oh yeah, it was such a good atmosphere.
The theming, and that's what I do like about Knott's. I've said this on so many live streams that I appreciate Knott's compared to all the other big haunts that we have out there, but Knott's really has to think outside of the box, because of the licensing rights, the IPs that other theme parks are privy to. But it's such a cool atmosphere there at Knott's, and we both grew up there at Knott's, same going since we were teenagers there. So really, really cool. What a fun experience to experience that as a young kid, to say like, you know what, Dad, I got to do this. So much fun. Thank you, Lawrence, for sharing that. Alex, what got you into wanting to put on the makeup and jump out and scare people out in the fog out there at Knott's?
It's kind of like a story in parts of like how it all started. I remember I was in 8th grade at the time, and my cousin and I went to school together, and we had like a bunch of mutual friends. And I remember there was this one guy that, like, it's such a typical teenage story. I was just like, oh, like, you have a crush on someone, you overhear their conversation, whatever. But at the time, he was talking about Trapped and like his whole experience, like going in there. And, you know, at the time, I didn't know what haunt was. Like, I had zero clue, but I remember at some point I was like, that sounds like a really interesting thing, because he kept talking about, like, there was no filming, there was no video, there was no footage, any of that. It was like VIP only. You paid for it, and it was almost like an escape room type of thing. Like, it wasn't like a typical maze. So, of course, I go home and I'm trying to Google or YouTube it, and I'm like, what is Trapped? What is like Scary Farm? Obviously, I don't get any results. I just get a vlog that says Trapped at Knott Scary Farm. So I started learning about it. And then I remember in 2015, my freshman year of high school, I ended up going for the first time by like complete chance. It's like the beginning of October. My mom and one of her coworkers at the time, I remember, were like, hey, we're going to go to Knott's Scary Farm tonight. And we're going to go to dinner, and then we're going to go to Knott's Scary Farm. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I didn't expect that we were going to go. It's just completely random. And then the second I walked through like the main gate, I got scared by this scare actor. I don't believe he works haunt anymore, but he used to be in Ghost Town. His name was Spaz. Second I walked through, like, you know how there's like the planners, like where they like take your photos and stuff. The second I walked in, he didn't even scare me. He scared someone else, and that startled me because I didn't know how it was going to be. And then the first maze I remember we were waiting in line in, it was Trick or Treat at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Which was where, you know, Waxworks' location, like the first maze that was there. And so I didn't know what to expect. I walk into Trick or Treat, kind of startled, but kind of like in awe of everything going on around me. And then like by the time I got out, I was just like, wow, this is like really cool. Like, how have I never heard of something like this before? And then I remember having this memory of the night that I went, the line like went from all the way from like the actual maze, like behind Ghost Rider. We were like a little bit before like the bakery, like by Ghost Rider and stuff. And I remember seeing sliders for the first time and just seeing like the sparks they made, like when they hit the ground. And I was like, wow, this is like a whole thing. Like, this is like a whole show. And then slowly as we went through more things, like I remember being in the back of the car and being like, wow, like this would be cool to do in the future. Like, and I didn't really take it that seriously, but the following year I met one of my friends, Ames, aka Haunt Shots. He's a photographer that started this past season. He used to be a monster in Fiesta at the time. He was a Cantina girl, like a sugar skull. And then I like slowly met him, and like he like slowly started introducing me into like the haunt community and like the people who ended up like kind of like being my mentors my first year in 2019. And that's just kind of how it all went down.
That's awesome.
Love it.
That's awesome. All right. So we're talking about how you got into it. And now I want to show everybody what you guys looked like in the haunt. So I'm going to push a couple buttons. Be patient with me real quick here as I share my screen and present our first one. And this should be Lawrence.
Give it up, ladies and gentlemen. Round of applause for Lawrence.
Nope, hang on.
Nope. Here we go.
Can you hear it? No.
It's still stuck on the screen.
Okay.
I'm
Did you
gonna
guys see that?
take a hunch here, and I'm just gonna say that may or may not have been Alex. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Two really good-looking dudes that we're comparing here. It's
Did you guys
kinda,
hear and see the first video or no?
I just saw the one of Alex there.
All
Really
right,
cool
then
video.
let me
Though.
do it.
was really neat.
We got Alex. Alex is looking good. It's your turn. Let me work on that. I told you, old people, you got to be patient with us.
I understand. I remember my dad was amazed the day I taught him how to use Google Docs. He was like, "You're telling me I don't have to handwrite all these documents that I've been making this whole time?" And I was like, "No."
I know. I'm telling
Can you teach me how to use Google Docs?
Exactly. Me after him. All right, let's try this. Cinema
right.
layout.
So that was Leapfrog. That was Alex, ladies and gentlemen. That was from Bloodlines this past year, 2024. Up next, let's get a sneak peek of Lawrence as that camp kid at Grimoire, folks. Here we go.
Okay, that's that one. There we go. We're gonna share. Make it bigger. Sorry.
There you go.
Yeah, I saw the tent. It was like I was home again.
Grimoire, damn these souls to our pages through dying breath. Stab it! You guys gotta go. Go do that. Go fight. Stab it! You guys gotta go. Go do that. Go find someone. Anybody.
Well done, Lawrence.
Was that better?
I think it's a common, especially in this line of work, it's a common thing where they're like, it's a common saying where they're like, your biggest critic is yourself, and I'm like, whew, that was rough to watch. It's okay though.
Oh no! I think you're great. Are you kidding me? You stop.
Yeah, I know I did good in there, but sometimes I go back and I watch the footage and I'm like, man, these guys came to the room at all the wrong times.
I felt that.
I know I would be the exact same way. I would be. Absolutely.
Like 2 a.m., right? You're ready to close. Yeah. You're ready to clock out.
You can see it. Like you can see your reflection in the sweat on my face. It's like.
And I'll tell you, when Haunt first starts, sometimes it's just like still downright summertime. Mm-hmm. And it's hot. It is hot. Yeah. And then you guys are working in the fog and all the bodies in there, just making it even hotter than what it needs to be. Hats off to you guys, because you wouldn't know it. You
Mhm.
wouldn't know that you guys are probably dying in all that makeup and clothing, and you guys just you just do amazing. You guys have definitely got some fans in here. Hey, Grave Shift Cosplay, we are definitely knocking on her door to get her in here as well. She is from Bloodlines. We've got Lando also here supporting Alex. We've got Spooky Lobby. I think Spooky Lobby might have some questions.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions here
Definitely
in the
let
chat,
us know. Definitely
jump
let
on
us
out
know.
during the live stream, and our friends will be more than happy to answer as best as we can. But I have to ask real quick, since we're just talking about that, do you guys either like go back and try to find yourself in either live streams or videos? Do you guys find yourself frequently doing that during the haunt season?
Oh yeah, you'll see dude, it's like right off the bat too. It'll be like opening night. You'll see a camera crew come through. The next day, you're on YouTube looking for it. It's like
That's good to
it's
know,
insane.
though. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. And now you guys have, I'm sure, just a plethora of videos you guys can
Mhm.
go through and share with your family and friends. Hey, Monica, welcome in.
Hey, Monica.
Kayla Mack, Little Rue +2. How's everybody doing? Windy Girl. If you guys have any questions that you guys want to ask, save them for the end. Write them down now so we can kind of keep organized. It's hard to read all of the comments as they're coming in sometime. So we're going to take the stage and ask some questions, but keep those questions of yours handy at the tip top of your tongue, and we will get to you definitely at the end. All right. So here's a good question. What kind of training or preparation do you go through before haunt season begins? What are you guys doing in June, July, and August?
Or now.
Or now.
Or now. Alex, do you want? I've gone first all night, Alex. I'll let you take this one.
I mean, this one's not really a secret because it's on YouTube. People have talked about it all the time, but we definitely do get to go through a special training called Scare School, where whether you're in a maze or a zone, you basically get told like the whole story of what your venue is. You get told what your character is, why it's important, how does it relate to anything, and you basically get pointers on like how do they want you to perform as your character, and ideas for yourself of like, well, how would you take your own spin on being that particular character and scaring in that venue for the season. It's very unique.
To piggyback off of that, so you are given your realm of what you're supposed to be doing and how you're supposed to be doing it throughout the haunt. Do you feel like you then made it your own and changed it some?
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely. I want to say, I'm not going to lie. And I don't feel like I'm going to get in trouble with this because, I'm going to have an entire cast of people to back me up on this. The scare school, for me in particular, I don't know about other mazes, other venues, other scare zones. It was not the best education I've received as far as like doing something, like because they're trying to teach you and 40 other people how to do this, that, and the other thing, how they want you to do this, that, and the other thing. And you're absolutely right. By the time that season's over, like what you were doing that day one is something, it's completely different from what you're doing now. As you've grown to be more comfortable in your space and to kind of push the limits when it comes to like guests, like getting close to them or whatever it is you're doing, is you push those limits, you find your own headspace, your own rhythm, and you just go with it. And especially when you have like such great people to work with, like I was fortunate enough to have, it becomes even easier to develop your own groove and your own thing, and to work off of others and to work off the crowd too. Yeah, a lot of these people that go through the mazes don't know how much their behavior and how much their body language contributes to their own experience.
That makes a lot of sense. Hey, welcome in, Saul. When you start out, now you as the camp kid, you start out in the very front. Was that where you were the entire season, or do you start to move into other parts of the maze?
There was one time
Okay.
I got the opportunity to scare in the second campsite. And it was because the way that the scheduling had worked out, and one of my character, he was a camp kid. That's what we're gonna call him. But his name was Biggs. That's what it said on the. They give us character sheets, literally everything about it. He was a Cubs fan. Ew, I know, I hated it too. Um, no disrespect to any Cubs fans, but disrespect to any Cubs fans. I was like, I was like, we had asked our supervisor, we're like, hey, this room is down campers. Our B cast is in our room, and we're pretty much done for tonight. We're gonna sit here for the next 30 minutes and then go home. Can we go in there? I was like, I have some eye black in my haunt box. Can I put on some eye? Because I didn't have a makeup time. When they cast me, the actual words they used was, "What you got going on there is what's going in there," and I was like. And I was like, okay. Um, so I put this eye black on me. I tried to make my face look all torn and beat up like the other camp kids, how they have their makeup. And I went in there and I got to scare one time in a different room and never again. I was always in that front room.
Wow.
What about you, Alex? Did you primarily just stay kind of right up front there on that platform? It was like a raised box platform.
Yeah, I still to this day don't even know what it was called. We called it the platform / catwalk. That's what
The
it was
catwalk.
described to
The
us.
catwalk.
I love
good.
it.
My
I like
friend,
that.
because I did Bloodline as well in 2022 when it opened, and my friend was in that spot, and she was like, "Well, I'm on the catwalk. I'm going on break. You want to take it?" And I was like, "All right, I'll do the catwalk." But the way Bloodline was designed was in the storyline. Technically, Berserkers and like the Daybreakers too, we could be in almost any room as long as it was okay for us to. It made sense to the story for us to be in there. But I'm gonna say 7 times out of 10 was primarily in the graveyard, just because like that's my favorite room and it's where I felt the most comfortable. However, I did get to go to a couple of the different rooms.
Because I do feel like we saw you somewhere else, and definitely the graveyard, aside from on that catwalk.
Yeah, I could be once in a while. I kind of tend to change spots depending on who else in the room, if they're going on break or if they want to try something different. Because we were also allowed to be inside like that mausoleum, like we could open like the little doors.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I feel like you came out of the dark, out of nowhere a couple times. Like, where'd you come from?
I know, I'm a teleporter, as they say.
Teleporter. That's too funny.
But yeah, that room, you could do so much in there. I like to kind of do a little bit of everything. Like, if I wanted to, realistically, every set, I could have done something completely different.
Yeah. Grayshift Cosplay says, player in the exit with me for a night. It was fun. Enjoyed watching.
Oh yeah, I got to be in the finale, like the exit.
I
like
thought
the end of the
so.
season.
I remember that because going back to my birthday is at the end of October 26th to be exact. And I was going back looking at footage and I do remember seeing you, Alex. I'm saying, oh, thank you for the birthday wishes. And all of a sudden you just come running out from the, like that last little room.
That's one of my favorite videos, just because from my perspective, like when I watched it, like you're walking through and like you're about to turn into the exit, but it's like from my perspective, it's so obvious that I'm standing somewhere. Like, I think because we're like talent, we're used to seeing in the dark. I personally assume that other people can see me. I don't know why. I just assume if I can see you, you can easily see me. So when I saw myself walking from like the weird like hallway thing, like I see the white ribbon in my braids that night and I just see myself come out and I was like, there's no way he didn't see me. Plot twist, I scared you. And then I kind of just did my thing.
I love it. I love it, guys.
He had a lot of fun that night.
It was a ton
Every
of
night,
fun.
but that night in particular was a really good one.
And you would think I would get used to the scares and the timing, but which kind of leads to my next question here. But you guys always kept it fresh every single night. So my next question is exactly, how do you guys keep your performance fresh and exciting night after night? And a second part to that one is have you ever had an experience where a guest surprised you with their reaction, either positive or just unexpected? Lawrence, I know this is probably a hard one for you because you're not really, I mean, you get real creative. All of you camp kids do an amazing job. You guys scared the you know what out of me every night. It was just done really well, very artistic, very well thought out. What was your take on that? How do you keep it fresh, Lawrence, night after night?
Night after night. So I'm gonna tell you a little haunt secret. It's not fresh night after night. It's not fresh. It's fresh. It's fresh visit after visit. I'm gonna go ahead and say
Ah,
it's fresh. Not fresh night after night. Night after night is night after night. You know, if you're honestly, in my personal opinion, if in the trenches, literally, there's like a World War II trench in our maze. In the
yeah.
trenches, you know, it's difficult to do something different for every group. Now, every other night, yeah, sometimes, but you're absolutely right. It is a different experience every night. A lot of it has to do with you're coming in at a different time of our performance. You
Hmm.
know, our in our area, our performance starts in that hallway. I don't know if you guys ever got scared by
Mhm.
me in that hallway.
Yeah.
I had a curtain in there, and this was like my first. So let's go back a little bit. When I first did scare school, I had no instruction. They were like, "Here's your pedal, here's your voiceover. We're gonna come through in a minute, and we're gonna watch you guys do it." I hit that pedal, and then they walked right past me, and I was stuck mouthing the words to no one. And I quickly learned that that was going to be something that the guests were going to do. And so one of the first, I did this in like maybe the first week. I stopped using the pedal. It's like I was like,
Um,
my pedal isn't important enough to the story where I need to be pressing it every time. Now, every now and then, sure, you know, but I don't need to. And I found that I could get better scares. I could get better interactions without the pedal. That was one of the first changes I did. As far as night after night, for me, um, like I said, I had an amazing group of other camp kids to work with, man. And one in particular, she was just a dream to work with. You know, she made it so easy, even though I stepped on her every now and then because she would be like on the floor pretending to be dead and it's dark and I'm going through the fog and I'd kick something and I'm like, oh, that was her. My bad. And I just go on with it. and, um, and you know, just bouncing off of each other was one of the greatest things we were able to do. You know, we had just conversations between our characters would start, and we had,
mhm.
you know, they would start, and then, you know, she would come up to me and be like, hey, it's a spaghetti night, and I'm like, no, it's not. They're serving grilled cheese in the cafeteria, like it's not spaghetti. And they're like, she'd be like, no, 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 we're gonna get a pot of noodles and we're gonna throw it at the wall and see what sticks. And I'm like, you're gonna need to be more. You're gonna need to be more specific as to what you mean. And she was like, we're gonna try something new, and if it works, we'll keep doing it. And we did that like. So what I found is that every night that we planned to do it, it didn't work out. But every night we were just in there, it did. Like that's what happened.
Right.
Like I'd be like, oh, no spaghetti night tonight, and then like I would see her doing something, and I'd be like, I wonder if I can get her to mess up if I go over here. And I go over there, and then she'd play off of it right away, and then boom, a new scare emerged, or boom, a new dialogue, like a new dialogue happened, or you know, and it was insane. And the second to answer the second part of your question, you know, crazy guest reactions. Of course, there's always the common, you know, I got punched a couple times, I got kicked one
Oh,
time. Other people, you know, other
Um,
things happened, which is a tragic. If you're going to haunt and you're planning on doing that, please stay home, from the bottom on behalf of anybody who's anyone.
yeah.
absolutely.
Um, but I do want to say some of those reactions are the best ones because like I got punched for that first time. I couldn't stop laughing. I couldn't stop laughing. It was too perfect. She couldn't get away from me anymore, so she just went like that and she punched me right in the chest. And then she ran down the hall and I heard her turn to her friends, go, "Oh my God, I touched him!" And oh my gosh, I turned around, I busted up laughing. But the greatest reaction I got was so cool, and it was one of the few times I did use the pedal, my voiceover, and I was doing the voiceover, and these two guys came through, and they were confused because the grimoire, the way that maze is designed is you don't know the maze has started when it started. From
Right.
that moment, you turn into that dark hallway with all those lanterns and all the what are they called, roots hanging down.
Right.
I'm watching you, and I'm looking for an opportunity to scare you. You might walk through, and you might not even know I'm there, but that's on you. You should have made yourself an easier target.
Yeah, it still feels like the cue right there.
It
It
does.
does. It really
Yeah.
does. I used that to my benefit all the time. But the greatest reaction I got, I was doing this voiceover, and I hated doing this voiceover. And these people were confused. And finally, they saw someone who was going in the opposite flow of direction, and they wanted to ask me something because they heard this voiceover. They don't know where it's coming from. They don't know what's happening. And I'm talking to this guy, and I'm doing the voiceover, and I'm like, "It's so cool. You're gonna love this book we found." And he just looks at me and goes, "Oh my God." He goes, "That's so cool. Oh my goodness. No, no, no. Don't do it to me. Do it to him," the guy he was with. He goes, "Do it to him. He needs to see it too." So I'm like, absolutely. And I turn and I'm talking to him now. And he's like, "This is the coolest thing I've ever experienced." And I'm like, oh, it was amazing. And I was like, that all of this heartache, all of the gallons of sweat, all of the nasty smells, all of the getting hit, those kinds of reactions make it worth it. That and getting a good scare. But those kinds of reactions make it worth it. Those kind of reactions are like, dude, I can keep going for the rest of the night. It's 1:30. I can make it that
There
extra
you
30
go.
minutes to 2 o'clock.
Something
Because
else
this
that clock
person said
tick
it
right.
was that cool. And I'm sure Alex
Mm,
has some amazing experiences like that too.
Thank you, Lawrence. Alex, yeah, what do you got?
On like in terms of keeping it fresh every night, I kind of will agree.
Yeah.
In some ways we do keep it fresh every night, but it's also at the same time it's that by complete chance of like it's a new group who hasn't seen what was going on before. For me, I will say it's kind of that, and I'm the type of person that when they give me a character, I'm just like, okay, what can I do with this and like keep going with it to try something new. And like I personally love being a character. If it's a maze, like I love being characters that can be in multiple rooms because
Yeah.
then I can do more things. Like I can get more creative because 2019 and 2021 I used to be in Dark Entities, and I remember the second year my cast lead at the time, I was like, so my room was called the living quarters, and it kind of was like after the cryogenic chambers, you go into like a room and there's like a TV on the wall with like a message from a survivor. There's a bed, there's a desk. And I remember my cast lead told me he hated that room because it was so dark that he was like, no one can see you. So it's like, why are you in here? So he gave me permission that year to kind of like go about the maze because in the story, as long as it was like on the ship, like the mutants, the characters that we could go anywhere as long as it made sense. And I kind of got to do that my first season too, but not as often. But I liked doing it my second year when I was like at that point considered a veteran. And I remember being like, the more I can do, the more I can kind of work towards this goal of being satisfied with playing this character and having to do everything that I got to do. And that's what I liked when I first got put into Bloodline, is that we had that opportunity where we didn't have to do the same thing every single night, which is so funny because most of us at the first season, we were so used to what we were doing that we kind of just stuck like that. And then afterwards, like as time went on, everyone was like, no, I'm just going to change rooms and just do something else, make a new element of surprise, and just try out someone else's scare to see how it works for them.
Right. But
That was
Alex,
great.
were you there when Bloodline first opened, when it was the laser tag, the weapons and all that?
Mm-hmm.
How difficult was that to, I mean, like, you're scaring people, but I'm sure were you one of the monsters or whoever that had to react to when you would get shot at by
Yes. I remember that season specifically, we kind of had training
Mm-hmm.
on like how things were going to work with the guns and like how we were supposed to react. Because if you look at the videos from like the opening weeks of like 2022, you could see like a lot of us had like these like blue lights on us almost.
Mhm.
Ah, that's right.
And that was kind of like our our life, like
Gotcha.
in our
That's right.
reaction to being shot. So I remember they were trying to explain to us how to react to like being shot at by like the laser gun and like how long to play dead for, and then like when you respawn and like for the next group. Because the first year that maze was pulsed in the sense that you have like a certain amount of time between when the guests would walk in and then like there's enough people that like walked out so that a new group can like wait and like form. So it
Right.
was interesting, but I will say it was, in my opinion, it was very difficult to scare because there was just so much going on with the set and like, you know, trying to scare and then like also like trying to shoot, like you're trying to multitask.
That's
So it was
true.
kind of interesting. Some spots I will say with the guns worked a lot better than others,
Mm-hmm.
but we all pretty much just try to do what we could do with like physical limitations, because you know we couldn't like get too close because you know people are wild and they will take the gun for no reason and just try to hit you.
Absolutely. Yeah. You just gave a guest a weapon, so to speak.
Yeah.
Literally a weapon
Literally.
to attack.
I know I was going to say when we were talking earlier about how can they not see me? And from our perspective, we're just looking through this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's extremely tunnel vision. So anything happening anywhere over here, how can you get scared every night? Because unless it's happening in here, you're not seeing it. So it really is true that night after night after night, you guys were still startling, especially this guy. Me, I just kind of play it cool and walk through, and that's how I get through it. But
I
yeah,
always
you guys
remember
are
that.
you guys are still startling this guy because that's I've got the full picture and I'm able to turn my head and look around, but this poor guy, it's just this right here, and that's his only point of view. So he really doesn't see you standing there. Absolutely not.
That's the truth. That's the 100% truth. I said it night after. I'm like, do I have a kick me sign on me or something? Because like everyone's just coming for me. Because that was just it. They see me coming in with the gimbal and the camera, like we got to get this guy. So.
What's funny is sometimes even on the platform, people could not see me despite the fact that I was standing right in the open. And I think that was more because the way like the lighting was designed was when you first turn that corner, there's a spotlight that hits you right in the eye.
Yeah,
So
the
you're
lights.
That's right.
temporarily blind for like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And then
There was that one at the end of Origins, and every single time I had to like block
that's
it
right.
with my hands just to not run into the walls. But there were a few lights like that they were harsh. They were
purposely
definitely harsh.
misdirecting the guests
Yeah.
is what I like to think of
Definitely.
it.
One of our greatest advantages is the lights aren't in our eyes sometimes.
That's
Yeah,
true.
Yeah. Thank
That's
goodness,
true.
right?
And that's
Can you
all done
imagine?
obviously by design.
Mhm.
The creators.
I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
sidetrack real quick. I have a story about that. One of my first scares that I did in that hallway is they gave us a flashlight. One of our props was a flashlight because on that voiceover they talk about not going to be able to get the flashlights to work. So I used to do is I would sit in that back corner, darkest corner in that damn maze, I swear. And I would sit there and I would shine the light down the hallway and I would just hold it steady. And you could I could stand right in front of you because it was that dark behind the light and that
Oh my
bright in front of it.
gosh.
I would stand right in front of you and you could walk all the way up to me. And as long as I didn't move, you could walk all the way past me. That's how I got my supervisor that first night. I scared my supervisor. She was going through the maze, and I just shined that light, and she knew someone was there because like she knows the maze. She knows someone's there. That's a spot for someone, and but she didn't know that light was me. And so she came
Nice.
walking down, and I just think remember she put her clipboard up to block the light from her eyes. Biggest mistake ever. we'll just leave it with that clipboard hit the wall. By the time I was done with her, and she realized it was me, and she was like, "Ah!" and then she kept walking, and I was like, "Yeah, that was a good job. That was a good job. I got to
That's
kill an in card for
hilarious.
that one." Yeah.
I
fun.
love it.
That is
I
fun.
love it.
All right. What's the most difficult aspect of your role in the maze? Is it physical, emotional, or mental, if any?
Alex, you want to go ahead and take that?
I'd say for the mental part, is also tied into physical, because the more weeks that pass, I feel like it's with like your like life in the daytime, whether you're going to school or work, or you're just like getting up and just going straight to haunt, it does physically like drag onto your body the more you do it. So I will say that like that does get a bit difficult, especially because like I said, if you have other things going on in your life, you're not really probably sleeping as well.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you are, it kind of like you get that like mental, like emotional, like tiredness, like fatigue is how I would describe it. And I feel like it really just depends too, like what's going on, like in life too, because unfortunately sometimes you can have things going on in your life that may bleed into like haunt as well. So that's really just going to depend on every single person. We're all unique individuals, but I will say the sleep aspect and physically, like I feel bad for the sliders because that's so physical, and then like the stilt walkers, the bungees, like there's so much going on that like normal ground monsters are not doing. So shout out to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. A different toll on the body.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you, especially for some of those guys that have to just kind of stand in a tight space, the action of just standing is really hard on your body for any given length of time. Those guys, even though, from the quick glance, it's like, well, they don't have to do much, but that's a huge toll on the frame, just standing there.
Mm-hmm.
I know even for us, there were sometimes we would get in there 5 nights a week. And then we're getting home at 3:30 in the morning, sometimes, maybe even later, by the time we go to sleep, 4:30, and we're getting up with our kids in the morning for school. We still did it the next night without problem because we weren't going to miss it. That was the desire, but I can relate a little bit. I think we both can with the mental, but then when it's all said and done and haunt's over, there's this literal actual depression that comes with it, because you would think that you would be so tired and worn out from those weeks of doing the thing. But even that first night after, you just want to go. You just want to go do the things. And so it's really hard to explain to people, how do you go 5 nights a week, 3 nights, 4 nights, 5 nights, whatever it is. It's like, because it just sucks not being there. Just pick your poison,
It's funny trying to explain to like my family or my friends, like if we do get a night off and we go see everything, because that's one thing people wouldn't realize, is that when you're in one venue, you kind of forget the rest of the park exists.
Yeah, that's true.
Like when I was first in Dark Entities, and then I ended up going to Bloodline in 2022. I like totally forgot Dark Entities was there, even though the maze is right behind us. And then I saw Ghost Town and all these things. And even being a guest, like you said, is so tiring. Like it feels almost as tiring as like actually like doing the job itself.
Wow.
Like you just get like so many steps in, you're seeing so many things. You have that exhaustion of like, if you're driving there and driving back, it's late hours, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah, it's a different kind of exhaustion. But you're still ready the next day to do the things. I don't know. I guess it's mental over physical at the end of the day.
Yeah, when it's like what people say, there's a will, there's a way.
That's right.
That's it.
That's right.
And it's only what, a few weeks out of the year, right? Just
Yeah.
stick through it.
Yeah.
Tough it out.
What did you think, Lawrence, was the most difficult aspect of your role?
So for my role, there's the difficult aspect for my role. And this is completely my fault. Has nothing to do with the role. Is I did not use that voiceover. The voiceover is built into the speakers of the maze. My voice is not.
Yeah.
Those mazes are very loud. And
Loud.
so constantly I'm keeping up. Well, there you guys are. It's about time you showed up. Hey, we found this really cool book. You guys are gonna love it. And I'm doing that really loud to compete with the sounds of the maze and to compete with the sounds of the guests. And by the end of it, by the end of the night, I sound like I've been smoking the whole time. And it's like, well, there you guys are. It's about, I sound like a character from Ghost Town. I'm like, well, there you guys are. And it's completely different than like the youthful child thing that I had going on at the end. It sounds like, dude, this guy's just been scaring. He's been smoking. Like it's insane. But I want to say like that was me. That was my experience. I know of some people, maybe you didn't lose your voice. One of the biggest things that all of us haunt actors had to overcome or had to deal with is it goes by a few names. I always preferred the fog sickness. A lot of people called it the haunt plague. We all got it, and it kicked all of our butts, and we were all down for the count for a couple nights. But despite that, we were in the maze, and we were spreading it to everyone else. And but we were in the maze, and we powered through it. Some better than others. Not gonna lie, it hits everyone different. For me, I mean, you could ask the people, because I don't know. Fun fact about the grimoire, my blackout room that in the hallway that I'm jumping out of that curtain. That's the same blackout room that the people in the kitchen are using. So I'm in the room with them, right? Well, unless I'm in the hallway, I'm in the room with them. I'm in that kitchen. I can see into the kitchen, and those curtains are right behind me. And they're sitting there and they're looking at me, and I'm sitting down in the corner, in the dark corner, just like this. And they're like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And you power through it. And you get stuffy, and you have nose spray in your pocket, and you go back into the back room, and I'm like, I got a bottle of honey, and I'm just drinking straight out of it because I need it for my throat. And you're drinking all those fluids to try to do this. But I know that's one of the hardest things that we got to deal with is that haunt sickness, that haunt plague. I always called it the fog sickness because I thought that sounded cooler. But
It sneaks up on you sometimes.
it really does just sneak out. One day you're in there and you're like, oh my, I got a sore throat. I'll just have this person over here, this veteran over here that's been doing this for years has some cough drops. I'll have one of those. And now I know why they have cough drops on day one.
Why?
Because they just throw it in there and they're just ready for it. They know it's coming. And, I didn't know it was coming. It was my first year. And but I soon found out, and it was it lasted 2 weeks. I was down for 2 weeks, and I was there every day, spreading it to everyone
Brave
else.
Ship Cosplay says throat coat saves lives for future reference for anyone. You're going to have to send us what that looks like, because we deal with that going live for hours and hours and hours on end. I don't know how you do it. I can't. I talk even for a little bit, and I just start coughing and everything because my vocals just can't. They have no strength. And you would think I am loud, right? And I am naturally, but I can only do it for so long. So she's gonna have to send us what that looks like on Instagram.
You want to know what my secret is?
What is it?
It's the Knott's Berry Farm Boysenberry Punch.
Yeah.
The all you can drink. That's the secret.
The sugar-free one.
Because we drink that by the gallons.
Yep.
That with a splash of Sprite.
Literally
right?
gallons, I think, of that stuff during haunts.
Oh man, you guys have no idea. I mean, it was like my personal recommendation. This is what worked for me. Everybody was like, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing that." Another thing was I was taking like 5 aspirin every night because I would get a headache from being dehydrated.
Oh,
but that's completely separate. Don't do that. It's not good for you. I did it. Don't do what I do. It's a bad idea. But when it was honey. I would drink honey. or I would get a spoon of honey and I would eat that, and I would let it sit underneath my tongue, and
Yeah.
it would pick you up so fast. It would make you feel so much better. And I was like, is that good for you? I don't know. I don't want to know, because then I might stop doing it. But you know, but that's my personal recommendation. That's my remedy. Other people have other ways of dealing with it as well.
Miss Nightmare says, I know
Definitely.
during the season, Alex gave me these honey throat cough drops, and they worked so much better than the regular cough drops. You guys are going to have to drop these in our DMs for us so we can.
If
Just
you're coming to
remember
haunt,
that.
if you're coming to haunt and you want to be a real one, hand out cough drops to the monsters. Everyone gives us these bracelets. Everyone gives us
I
these
was gonna say
bracelets. Everyone gives out these bracelets. You know what everyone's not giving out is cough drops.
cough drops.
A lot
All
of
right,
us
you heard
probably
it
aren't
here.
gonna take it because we don't trust all the guests
Lauren,
all the time. But like I'm
how do
telling
we
you
get
right
through
now.
security with that?
So
I know, right? Bags and bags.
It just so happens I work in security at Knott's now. I can tell you exactly how. You put it in your bag, and you want to. There's a couple of things you got to look out for. You want to make sure that the bag is not aluminum lined, okay? Because then we're gonna ask you to take it out of your bag. But then once you've been checked, they'll give it right back to you. You can bring cough drops into Knott's Berry
Okay.
Farm. You can bring snacks, and you can bring water and maybe a can of soda. Just for your sake, especially during haunt, don't bring stuff that's going to set off the metal detectors, because it's just going to take you longer to go through security. And I know
So
you
we
want
need
to get into that
find-
park as quickly as possible.
Yeah, we need to find some packaging, some LDF packaging, so we can give you guys your cough drops instead of bracelets. But you can't stick that on your haunt box.
I'll stick that wrapper on there, man.
There you go.
I love it. I love it.
Speaking of advice, we always get our friends, our Living Dead fam friends here in the chat. Obviously, there is an audition process to go through, but leading up to that, what advice would you guys give, Alex and Lawrence? What would you guys give advice to anyone brand new off the streets, wanting to do this scare acting, their first time ever? How would you guys, what would you, personal advice would you give to our friends here that are looking forward to doing this, maybe this coming up season? What could you guys give? Alex, what do you have?
So I've always kind of been told, like, the first real advice I got before my audition was pretend you're already out in the park scaring. Like, that's like just kind of the mindset. I also kind of like to tell people, like, locker room mentality. You think that all these other people that you're with who are doing the same thing as you are all staring at you and judging you, but in reality, it's like you're just kind of doing your own thing. Like, we're all doing it together. So I think that kind of puts a little less pressure on people. But I would always say, especially if you're trying to go for like streets, have an idea more, not so much on the appearance of your character, because I think that's a big mistake a lot of people make, is they focus too much on the aesthetic of what they want to look like versus how they want to act. Like, whether you're in a maze or you're trying for streets, kind of just have down the basics of how do you feel comfortable scaring? Like, do you like, what kind of noise, like, experiment with like noises, or like if you talk, if you want to be silent, like physical movement, like twitches, and like think like, normal people stand up straight, like monsters like don't really do that. Like, have the mentality of like thinking like, what would like a non-human, assuming you're going to be a non-human, would do? Like, everything that makes us, it's like, what makes this monster, and why are they the way they are?
Yeah.
So like thinking out of the box, basically, kind of just being a larger version of yourself, but be more creative with it. Like, think of a character, basically, kind of what you're saying.
It's almost like you're playing a caricature of a non-human in a way.
Okay.
Like, a lot of people, like, in those auditions, they go all out. They're so over the top, so dramatic. Like, it looks so silly. Like, it's so weird explaining to people that have nothing to do with haunt, because trying to tell them the process, they're like, they made you do what? They made you go crazy for like 30 seconds and like act like a total nutball, and like you're just like, yeah, that's exactly what I had to do, because that's what I'm going to be doing every night for like a month and a half. You kind of just have to go for it. And I would say if it's especially your first season, it's okay to have expectations of where you want to go, but also keep in mind, I feel like this happens to me all the time. Usually when I audition, I don't really have a plan anymore of where I want to go, because I feel like it's like a random wheel spinner. It's really up to the judges of where they think you fit best. But I kind of go in with half of my mind saying, okay, I have an idea of where I kind of want to go, but also, what if they give me something I never thought about? Like something that was never on my radar. Am I going to say yes? Am I going to say no? I kind of go in just expecting that they could give you anything. They could give you anything. And that's like how you want to, that's how you go in without being like, oh man, I didn't get what I wanted. This sucks. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just go in, have fun with your audition. Probably going to be tired afterwards. Like, I will say that audition every year resets me. Like, resets my body. I forget how hard this is.
Wow.
Gotcha.
But go in with the idea of how you want to scare or what kind of character you would want to scare as, and just kind of be open-minded about what could possibly be you could be casted as.
Well, it could be.
Now that
That's a good perspective.
Very good perspective, because typically when you're auditioning for haunt, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's like based on a seniority system from what I hear. So you don't typically get to be a street monster when you first go in. Is that kind of how it goes, or can you get lucky and get a street performing spot if you go in your first audition?
There are chances that you could get it if it's like you have the energy that they're looking. Because when it comes to streets, they're really looking mostly a lot of like outside of the energy, like your endurance. Because like when you're out there, like I would actually say the same thing for a maze. Because in a maze, you're scaring people in groups at a time. On streets, you could be scaring anyone. Like there could be a bunch of people, or there could be no one, but you're kind of out there. You always have to be like on your A game, like, you know what I mean? So I feel like for streets, they're looking a lot for like, you know, the improv, they're looking for the energy, but they're also looking like, do you have that stamina to like just keep going and like
to last through the season?
Yeah, exactly. Because I only did streets once, and
they don't want to replace you.
Yeah.
Right.
I only did streets once for the 50th, and that was like the 1 year that I kind of I didn't pay attention to what I was doing in the audition at all. Like I was just like out of it. I was so nervous. I remember that for the 50th, I had zero sleep. I just went in, and then they're like, "Oh, you're on Ghost Town." I was like, what did
I do? Less is more, right?
Yeah, like just some people straight up just check out. Like they're like they change character. Like they put on a whole persona. They don't even know what they're doing, but they do it well, and props to them.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. So, do you have something?
We've got a question here in the chat. Jacob EDM says, my question to Alex is, for each zone, what's the best way to apply to get into a zone? Like example, in Ghost Town, you get a cowboy, a zombie, etc. to act like, or in Carnival, you get clowns. And then he says also for Lawrence.
Like the question is like how to get that specific
I think that question is, hey, if this is what you want, what would you do to go about that? If you're wanting the streets, would you do something different?
I want to go back to how I said, like, kind of have that mentality of like, you can design a character. I always tell people, because this is what I was told in the past too, have a idea in mind, like have a rough sketch of like your character. Like if you want to be a cowboy, like you're kind of thinking, I mean, Ghost Town is a bunch of cowboys, so like how does your cowboy stand out? Like, you know what I mean? Like how do they talk, how do they walk, how do they act? Like I also like to think too, like, what are things about your character that's like has their quirks? Like, I don't know, if you're a saloon girl and you hate men, like, how do you interact differently with male guests versus female guests? Like, have like those ideas in mind is what I would say. Like, kind of have a somewhat fleshed out idea of your character, but at the same time, like, if you get it and they're like, hey, this is how it's going to be, like, always keep in mind like room to improve or to like change things around, especially if they don't think it like fits the story as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, kind of just have a rough sketch, but like get down like your mannerisms, like, and all that. Like, not so much like what do you want your character to look like.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's fantastic. Thank you for the tips, Alex. Lawrence, I'm sure you got a library of advice here to give our
You're gonna be
friends on.
so surprised. I'm gonna go over my audition experience. First thing I want to say is I've done theater in the past in like high school, and I auditioned in college, and here I am on a podcast about haunts. So that tells you how that went. Um, you know, haunt auditions especially coming off of like theater auditions. Like I thought the theater audition, going up and pretending to be an old man when I'm 17 years old, I thought that was difficult. Going into a haunt, it is the most uncomfortable, most like out of this world. Like there's no way they just asked me to do that. You know, how do I pretend to be a serial killer without playing too much into cliches? You know, how do you do this, that, and the other thing? I'm gonna tell you right now, my audition was on a Zoom call, similar to this, dude. I'm not even joking. We got in there. And the guy was like, he explained to us what was gonna happen. And he goes, "All right, I want you to be a monster, but don't make any noise." So then I'm like, I'm in my parents' bedroom because that has like the best setup for a Zoom call. And I'm like, how the how do I do that? And like, there's people on the Zoom call. I kid you not, and they're going like this they're going into the camera, and I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, it is the most embarrassing thing. But then I said, there's 40 other people in this Zoom call who are asking themselves the same exact questions. And you know what's going to happen to those 40 other people is they're all going to get cast somewhere. They're all going to get put somewhere. And they're all going to make it. And I'm one of those 40. So I just did whatever, you know. And oh my gosh, you should have heard. I thought my speakers were gonna explode when he said, "All right, now make noise." I thought my speakers were gonna explode. It was just like the most screech, like you got two walkie talkies and held them together. Like it was insane.
Megaphone.
Oh,
Yeah, I was
imagine.
like, dude, I gotta turn the volume down. My computer's gonna break. And but then uh, I got my role. I was overhire. I was like, what the heck is overhire?
Huh.
Basically, they hadn't cast me yet, and the reason why they hadn't cast me was because I also do World War II reenacting, and I had embarked on a 2-week trip to go partake in the largest World War II reenactment in the United States in Conneaut, Ohio. Great experience. Not going to get too much
Wow.
into that because I can talk about World War II for literally hours and days and days and days. So if I start doing that, just be like, Lawrence, haunt, okay? Just let me know. I had so I left for this, and they were like, "All right, we need to come in for your I-9s." And I'm like, "I got bad news for you." So I came in for my I-9, and you have to turn in your I-9s. You have to be hired and on that Knott's payroll in order to get cast, because they're not going to cast you, and then you're not going to complete the steps, and they're going to be like, "Well, great, now we got to find someone else." So I turned in my I-9s the day of orientation, the morning of.
Oh
I
my
went to
God.
Knott's Berry Farm, which is an hour away from my house, by the way. I went to Knott's Berry Farm, turned in my I-9s, turned in my W-2, took my picture for my ID. I didn't even get measured for a costume. Went home, came back a few hours later for orientation. Orientation was great, by the way. And then then I'm like, I'm over hire, and they split us up into these groups, and they're like, if you're in this zone, these are your supervisors, go meet them. If you're in this maze, these are if you're on call, if you're Scare Force B, they never said if you're over hire, go over here. And I
That
was
happened to my
like,
roommate too.
so I was like, what do I do? So then I'm sitting there and they're like, everyone come follow me, everybody. And I'm the last one in my section. And they're like, oh, by the way, if you're overhired, come over here. And so I go over there and they're talking to me and they talk about the associate night. When it's like the night before opening night or like a couple days before, I don't remember. And it's just Knott's Berry Farm associates, like the people who work on the rides and in foods and all the stuff. They come and they get to experience Knott's Berry Farm before all of you lovely guests get to come.
Ah.
And so they're talking about it, and I asked the person who was so called my supervisor. I go, hey, if I'm not cast in a role by the time associate night comes, can I go? That's a great question. That's a valid question, in my personal opinion, because I like haunt too. I like going too.
Yeah,
If I'm not cast, can I go?
right.
Um, so then they're like, and I'm gonna name drop. I said I wouldn't do it. This is what they said. They said that's a Billy question. And anybody who's ever asked anything to any supervisor who didn't have the answer, they always say the same thing. That's a Billy question. So I'm like, well, I gotta find this Billy dude. So I go and I find him. I go
Who's
and I
Billy?
find him, and I'm like, hey, so like, if I'm not cast, can I go to the associate nights? And he goes, well, do you want to roll right now? I was like, sure. He goes, and this goes back to what Alex said. You might get something you never even thought about. He goes, sure. He goes, so you're gonna be a camp kid in the grimoire. He goes, no makeup, no mask. What you got going on is what's going in there. And I was like he literally did that to my face. And you look at the pictures and videos. This is what was in the maze. I didn't have a makeup call, nothing. I had it easy, man. I didn't have no mask. Everybody
Wow.
else is dying in their masks. I had a shirt, a jacket, and some pants, and that was my costume. And it still got drenched with soak, and it still smelled, and it was still miserable, but not as bad as
Love
some of
it.
these other people in trench coats and fur and leather masks with 2 cowboy hats on and
Oh man.
chaps and all this other stuff going on. It was definitely a good costume, great costume. And he cast me right then and there on the spot. I don't know if you guys know where the Walter Knott Theater is. On that
Yeah.
catwalk, right above it, right there. I was standing on that catwalk. I got cast on the spot right there.
Wow.
He was like, your scare school is this day. Show up, or you don't get the role. And I was like, okay. And I showed up, man, and the rest was history. As far as my advice goes, because my audition wasn't, the best audition. It wasn't even like I'm sure like, it wasn't even like an audition that most of the people in Haunt go to. They're like, oh, they asked me to do this. I was like, oh, they didn't ask me to do anything. They told me what I couldn't do, and I was like,
Wow.
and they were like, yeah, don't make noise. All right, now make noise, and that was pretty much all the instruction I got.
No
Um,
kidding.
just think that like you're gonna be in there, and you might be by yourself, and you might not. Yeah, and you're gonna be embarrassed, and you're gonna feel uncomfortable. And what Alex said is one of the greatest things I never even thought of. Pretend you're already in the park. That's it. It click. He said that and it clicked. That made so much sense, right? Because when you do that, you're already in character. You've got your makeup on. You got your mask on. You've got your thunder jug or your knee pad, whatever you've got going on. It's all in your head.
Yeah.
And so now you can jump into this role, and then they tell you to do this, and you're in this headspace, and you're like, they tell you to do this, and Lawrence doesn't respond. Whoever the heck this character is going to respond. And
That's right.
Mhm.
that's my experience from just auditions like out in theater and stuff. I auditioned to be the Wizard of Oz. I walked up onto stage and I was like, how's it going, everybody? I'm the Wizard of Oz. What do you need me to do? And it's such a great piece of advice. If you're especially if you have something in mind like, oh, I want to be in Ghost Town so bad, or oh, I want to be in Carnival so bad.
Hmm.
What are you auditioning for?
Right.
They're gonna tell you to be a cowboy. Be like a circus clown cowboy. If you want to be in Carnival, they're gonna tell you to be a clown. Be a clown who's a cowboy. You're gonna you want to be in Camp Snoopy? Honestly, I'm gonna be completely honest. I have no idea what the theme for Camp Snoopy was this year. I did not go. I went to the park one time and I completely forgot to go to Camp Snoopy. I know in the past it was like I don't even know, but like you want to go to Camp Snoopy and they tell you to do this, be this. That's also that.
Right.
It's I think that works. If you do it and it doesn't, let me know. I'll stop telling people to do that. But yeah, that's my just remember, you're embarrassed, but you're like the 30th person who's come in there and done that in front of these people.
It's true.
They don't care.
It's very true.
They might laugh at you. That's a good job. They're laughing at you because they haven't seen it before.
That's true. Yeah.
They're scared of you. That's even better. You know, if any sort of reaction, unless like they're sitting there like this and they take a note and then go on their phone. Okay, maybe not
That's
not a
not
good
a
one. That's not a good one.
not
But
a
like
good
if they're
sign. Yeah.
laughing and they're laughing and they're like, hey, that's like what you did that a couple years ago. You know, they're doing that. That's a good sight.
I love it.
Another quick tip that I learned in
Please.
college. Wear something that nobody else is wearing. I'm not saying go crazy, but like wear like an ugly shirt. Wear like a bright yellow shirt with like pants that don't match. Because you know who they're gonna. Hey, do you remember that guy who did? Oh, you mean the one wearing that stupid shirt? Yeah, dude. It's a big help. Stand out as many. Don't be too crazy. Don't go over the top. But stand out. Show up in like that shirt that you don't wear in public because you just should not. It just doesn't
I
belong.
actually have a
Wear it.
story about that.
Please
Exactly.
share, Alex.
Okay, so in 2023 for the 50th, I went into that audition, and I remember my mom at the time, I joked that I saw a shirt like on Instagram and like Facebook and stuff, and you know the Twilight movies?
Oh yeah.
So I I had a shirt that's still in my closet, and it was like Taylor Lautner is Jacob Black with like a heart, and like his face is in the middle with like the ugly long haired wig that he had to wear, and it's like captioned, "Hey Bella, where the hell have you been, Loca?" And I wear that, and I'm standing in the front row of like the two that we had in that theater. And two of the managers, like, they see me for like 5 seconds. They lost it. They absolutely like lost it. That when they had me approach the table, they were like, "We're just letting you know we weren't laughing at you. We were laughing at your shirt." And I was like, "Yeah, that's why I wore it."
And that's how you got the job.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Every year I do an audition, something happens. Like the year before that, when I did Bloodline, they tell you stuff like, if you have anything like loose, like bracelets or like a necklace or like your phone, whatever, like just put it to the side because you know you don't want it getting damaged. 2022, that year specifically, we did an audition like somewhere completely different, and I remember someone who I worked with in 2021 in Dark Entities that day, because she knew we were going to have the same audition time and day, she gives me a bracelet. I take off everything but that bracelet, and I was doing my thing. That bracelet flew off my hand, hit the glass mirror at like top speed, and everyone's doing their thing, and I'm just standing there like this, and I'm like, I'm just gonna like slowly go back into my character. And like I just remember one of the designers who made Bloodline, like at the end, he's like, "Oh, did you get your bracelet back?" Never again. Traumatizing. Like the next year, I was like, we're gonna take off everything, like everything.
Right.
Yep, it happens. Like things go crazy in a span of 30 seconds.
Studio says it was a ballet studio that year.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know why they just decided to do it like somewhere else that year. Every year they kind of try to change. They try to change it up, but keep the same process to a certain extent. Because, you know, I think that's kind of a smart thing on them. They're trying to see what else could work or how else can they make the system as fast, as fluid as possible.
How many people show up for that?
Good question.
Is it all one day? Is it a
No.
couple days?
I mean,
No.
I had
Okay.
40 people in that Zoom call with me. I can tell you right now.
Wow.
And this is like
Typically a
end
Zoom
of
call,
it.
right?
Yeah, I did mine in a Zoom call. It was like 40 people in there.
But that's not normal, is it?
That's not normal. That's like last minute. We need to fill spots. Get these people
okay.
through.
That's
Okay.
Going back to advice, I would actually add in. Usually they will post like a couple of days of auditions for like to the general public. I would say always to get an earlier time if you can. If you can do like the first day, the first or second day of whatever they have available, to get it out of the way, like to do it, because at that point they have like so many spots open. The later you wait is kind of when they start doing like the Zoom auditions, and that's kind of when they start going into overhire too sometimes.
That's when you get camped. That's when you get yeah, that's when you go to your monster auditions and get casted as a not monster. That's what happens.
Because at that point it's slim pickings. It's like, hey, this is what we got. It's like being a freshman in high school and getting your last pick of your locker. You know what I mean?
So true. I can imagine.
Jacob
Gosh.
asks, question for Alex and Lawrence. What is your guys' top 10 dream Scary Farm mazes with Scary Farm mazes only?
It's a lot. Top 10, huh?
Top 10.
Top 10. I don't know if I can
Let's
name
just
10,
do
man.
maybe top 5.
Maybe do top 5. We'll
Top
get
5.
we'll get 10 out of each of you combined.
Five. Obvious.
And Lawrence, you've been going to Knott's for a while, so I'm sure you
I've
got
been
some
going
fun
since
ones.
2019.
Okay.
This guy Alex has been going longer than me. He knows more about it, way more than me. But I can say, because Shadowlands was so influential on me coming in there, that's gonna be up there. Let's do an order. Bottom. I'm gonna go with Eight Fingers 9 for number 5. I don't know what it was about Eight Fingers 9, but like every time I went in that maze like twice, and it blew me away both times. Another one, I'm gonna go with my number 4 pick. It's gonna be Mesmer. Mesmer, because it was the first maze that I walked into a room and I was like, I need to get out of here. It's that spider room. I'm better at it now. Like I could go through Widows now and I'll be fine. But like when first time I went through Mesmer, dude, I went in there and I was chilling, and there's the spider room. There's not even a person in there. It's just like sound and like some string hanging from the roof.
Oh, I know
And
what
I'm
you're
like,
talking about.
and I'm going there and I'm like, I need to get out of here. And I'm
So don't even
I'm
go to
"Ah,
Widows
get me to the
at
next
all."
room. Get me to the next room. And I get to the next room, and like the room is like spinning, and I'm like, oh, let me go back to the spiders. But so that's gonna be like, what was that? I was like 3 or 4. I think it was my number 4 pick. I'm gonna go number 3 pick. I'm gonna go Red Barn.
Oh,
All
okay. I
right,
remember Red Barn.
Red Barn was a banger. I mean, that chainsaw right at the end, it was crazy. Red Barn. Um, number 3 is number 2. Oh man, number 2. I've always loved number 2 from a haunt actor's experience. From what I've heard, this maze is like the worst maze to ever be in. From what I've heard, and I wonder if Alex already knows what it is. But like as from a guest experience, this is one of the mazes like that I went in after that first thing, and I was like, it just further solidified like the haunt experience. Like this maze is like why I kept coming back. It's Pumpkin Eater.
Yes.
My number 2 pick, because I remember going into Pumpkin Eater with my dad and my nephew, and we went in there, man, and I got hit in the face by this slimy, wet seed hanging from the ceiling, and I was like, and it smelled like pumpkin in there, and I got hit by it, and I was like, yo,
That's where Chambers is now, right?
Yeah.
yeah, and I was like, this maze is insane. It smells like pumpkin in here. Everything's slimy. And I've always loved, a lot of people don't like carving pumpkins on Halloween. They're like, I don't want to get it on my head. Dude, I just reach in there and I'm just like grabbing it by the fistful. So I was like, dude, this maze is further solidified. And my number 1, and this maze is probably going to hold a special place in my heart for the rest of my life, it's got to be the Grimoire, where I got my haunt, where I got my start during haunt, and where I met some of the greatest people I've ever met in my life, and where I learned what it really means to be a scare actor, and what I had 2019, I had no idea there was such a big culture around haunt, and such a big fan base, and such a big community and family almost you built around this 3-month period out of the year at this one place out of the entire world, at this little place in Buena Park.
Yeah.
I had no idea until I got there for that orientation. and they came up and they were like, we do have to do a disclaimer that you may be exposed to some violence and excessive gore, and that room just lit up and everyone started cheering, and I remember sitting there and I was like, yo, this is cool. And I remember seeing the jerseys and I'm like, if these people just come from like a game, like what's going on? And I was like, I'll play in hockey before you came here. Like, why wasn't I invited? And and finding out like the lore behind like the jerseys and the haunt names, and I was like, this is like people's lives. Like
Yeah.
people dedicate you people have dedicated your lives and your time to this. I thought like, dude, as 14-year-old, bro, I just came here and like these people scared me and they did a great job and they were really cool. But I had like the history of it, like how it started with like one guy thought it was going to be a really funny joke if he scared his coworker. Like it's crazy that that's how it started. And it's like, and I was just blown away. And the community is very welcoming. It's a little daunting because I was like, it's very alternative. Like you go in there and everyone's dressed like they're at a funeral, and I'm like, whoa! Like I just came from, like I just came from college. Like everyone's wearing like t-shirts and shorts. Like everyone's wearing t-shirts and shorts over there, man. I got like professors and like khakis. Like get over here, bro. It's like, and I'm talking to Count Dracula, and I'm like, no disrespects, but like you got to understand, like walking in there from like off the street, I was not ready for it. Do I love it? Absolutely. I think it's so cool that like, wow, like you people do this. Like it's like Halloween's year round for you.
Yes.
I didn't know that was an option, man.
Yep.
I was like, oh, Halloween's over. I gotta go put the Christmas lights up. Let's do it. But like, no, people are like, oh, you keep your lights up year round. I keep my skeletons up year round.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, that's so cool. And
We
I
keep
was just,
our background up year
We
round.
keep our spooky cloth up year round.
Yep, your fluky fabric. Yep. Dude, and I was just like, dude, this is great. It was everything I had hoped it was, and 1,000 times more. I couldn't be happier with that decision that 14-year-old Lawrence made all those years ago.
Awesome.
That's pretty cool
Awesome.
to share. I love it.
Thank you, Lawrence.
What?
Alex,
Top 5.
top 5. If you could only name 5, right?
I'm gonna go with mazes that don't currently exist because they would. I mean, mentally they would still be like in like my dream haunt. Dark Entities is gonna be one of them because it's funny. Like it was my favorite maze in 2018, and I ended up working that maze like for 2 years, like after. And like I remember at the time, it was like the weird discussion going on between the guests was if they didn't like Dark Entities, they liked the depths. If they liked the depths, like vice versa. It was either they liked one or the other. And I like Dark Entities because I like sci-fi. Like I used to love it like so much as a kid. Ironically, I don't like Alien. I hated Alien movies. It's the only genre of horror that I was like, mm-mm. And I like to think I always get put in the one thing that I don't expect. I loved being in that maze. I absolutely miss being the character I was, and the people that I worked with those 2 years. So that's all. Like Dark Entities is always going to have my heart. So of course it's going to be on my dream haunt. Dia de los Muertos was a maze that I never got to go through, and it used to be where the bumper cars are. I believe, like where Goring 20s is now.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like, it's no secret. People who know me, like, well, like, I mean, I'm wearing a shirt, and, like, a necklace, and I have ribbons in my hair. It's, like, a big part of my culture. Like, I love Sugar Skulls. I love Day of the Dead. It means a really big thing to me and to, like, my family. So, like, the first thing I ever wanted to be in was Fiesta Village. When it was a zone, when it was Fiesta de los Muertos. And, like, I had a few friends that worked there, but I also wish I could have experienced the maze because I only started going in 2015. So that at that point, like that maze was gone. Like, you know what I mean? So I think I love cultural horror. Like I find it very interesting, like what terrifies people around the world. And even though like Day of the Dead's like not really like directly horror associated, I have noticed that it started becoming really popular at a lot of other haunts too. Mm-hmm. Like from the 2010s onwards, it started becoming like a really big thing, whether it was for the horror experience or if it was like a side thing, like for inclusivity. And I think that's like absolutely wonderful that, you know, it's becoming more popular, more people know about it. So I think it would be really cool if like at my dream haunt, like that maze could still be around. Like, you want me to be a sugar skull? Okay, I'll do it. I'll do my last roll. You can't ask me to be anything else. I'm sorry. Let's see. Forevermore was another one that I adored.
Yes.
I got to go through it Halloween night 2015. I remember my mom's coworker took me that night, like for whatever reason. Like we were just there, and I went through Forevermore like around midnight, and I just remember how long that maze was. Like it was like a 5-10 minute experience. Like there was like so many rooms, because Mystery Lodge is a pretty big venue.
Yeah.
And it's funny, one of my friends pointed out that venue has so many serial killer related ideas, because they used to have 13 acts. Murder Manor, my friend Han Shots, is like his favorite maze of all time. There was, gosh, I'm trying to remember. Terror of London, I believe, was there as well.
That's right. I remember that one.
That's right.
Like, and then Forevermore, you know, with the Edgar Allan Poe inspired. Like, and I just remember like thinking at the time, like that was like such a unique take on a serial killer maze, just because they took a person's work and turned it into like a whole like deranged plot. And I was like, that's great.
Yeah.
And I love the soundtrack too. Like I have it on my phone, actually. I love that soundtrack.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch.
I know. That's what I was
Talking
thinking
about
right now.
soundtracks, what do you people know about KGRM the Grim? Let me tell you something about soundtracks, dude. Oh my gosh. I hear one of those songs from that station and I'm like, where are the tents at? Like, dude, like, it's insane. KGRM the Grim. Oh my gosh. Talk about soundtrack. No, that just threw me for a loop. Sorry, I had to say something. Like that's if you've been in the maze and you've been in the camp, in my room, my campsite specifically, for more than like 30 seconds, you know about KGRM the Grim.
That's
And,
right.
dude. And it's just
Sometimes I hear
crazy.
it
I
leaving,
can't
too.
listen to 80s music the same anymore because it always just brings me back to the maze.
That's true.
Ugh.
It's true. It's got its stamp of nostalgia for you now.
Oh, yeah.
It's you hear 80s music, you're gonna hear haunt. You get visions of haunt in your head now.
I'm like, well, it's like I'll hear flock of seagulls, and I'm like, I'm back in the grimoire. I'll be like, I'll open up the grimoire in my head, and I'll start reading it. I'll curse everyone, and I'm like, oh, it's crazy. It's just, oh, what do you know about KGRM the Grim?
Love
Iconic.
For real.
Alex, did you have any more? Any last minute mazes?
Let's see. We have 2 more left. Trick or Treat Lights Out, I would say. Like, I love Trick or Treat, but I don't know why. There was just something so special about the Lights Out version that I remember being so sad when 2019, like, oh, we have Waxworks instead. And I was like, oh. Because I loved the flashlight element, the character, like the way they updated the characters and like just the design of the maze itself, I think was just really interesting. Like I love that we were in a maze that was almost pitch black, but like wasn't, like at the same time. And it just like, I love seeing the revamp, because to me it was like, it wasn't fully a new maze, it was like a new maze and a half. Like, you know what I mean? They extended its lifespan, and like they did absolutely great work with it.
Absolutely.
And then,
Drumroll.
gosh, I can't think of one other maze that we would have that I would want to make dream haunt. Especially because I haven't been going for like that long.
Mm-hmm.
So I would personally, I'm just gonna keep it at 4. My mind's like,
all right. That's all right. Thank you guys for sharing those. Graveshift Cosplay says, question for Lawrence: What if you could? Would you like to change in your room to help you be a better actor if you could? An example: better guest pacing, story change, etc.
It's almost like you knew me. It's almost like you were in the room yourself, scaring people. So I have to say, the way that that it's designed, that maze is designed, is that first room with that tent is supposed to be like a pre-show. You know when you go to Disneyland and you go on rides with the Resistance and you get there and the Resistance guys are like blah 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 blah, and Ray comes out in the hologram and BB-8's there, or like you go to Guardians of the Galaxy and you're in the office and Rocket's there. That's what my room is like. That's what it's designed to be.
Right.
But because of the lines and because of traffic flow, it's not like that anymore. And they literally like that's how it's supposed. You're supposed to pack that. So people are supposed to come into the hallway, meet either Biggs or Corey, two of the camp kids, and he's gonna help them down the hallway. And and then either Biggs or Corey is in there with Sammy. Sammy's the girl camp kid, and she reads the book, and then that triggers the fog and the light, and you're thrown into the world of the grimoire. And if it was like that every time, it would have been a perfect show every time. Every time, every guest would have got the full story, the full experience. You don't know how awkward it is when a guest walks through and you're screaming at them at the top of their lung, at the top of your lungs, that they need to go into this orange tent. My friend just died, and the thing I need you to do is to go into this orange tent right now. And they just look at you like, and they're like, why? Maybe I want to go in the green one. And I'm like, no, the green one's mine. Go in the orange one. Like, stop arguing with me. And so, dude, about my room in particular, I would go back to that, like, that pre-show sort of thing where you have like maybe fit like 30 people in there, and they're
Mhm.
all in there, and I'm like, hey, is everyone here? All right, Sammy, read the book. And then we read the book and you get thrown into the grimoire. I think that would have made my life so much easier. Maybe I would have used the pedal. Maybe I would have used the voiceover more. I don't know. In the end, we, as far as making us better actors, the biggest tool in that room that we had was each other. Because, the tents, I could hide in the tent. The corner in the wall, right when you walk in from that raw, and there's that little space right there that we can really suck in our stomachs and hide behind. That I can hide there. I can hide in the fog. I can lay down in that. I could go into that blackout room. I could go over here. I go over there. The biggest tool we have in there was each other,
Right.
because one camp kid isn't scary. Two camp kids isn't scary. Three camp kids isn't scary. At no point are our characters scary. Unless, like, I purposefully go off script and, like, just, like, roll up my sleeve and reach out of my curtain at a girl's face as she stopped in line. And I pull it away real quick and she screams and goes, oh my God, there was a hand there. And then everybody else is like, no, there wasn't. And then as she's walking back, she looks back and I poke my head out and I'm there like, see, look, I told you. And then I close it and I gaslight her. But, biggest tool we have in there is each other, bouncing off of each other, ideas, different dialogues. Sammy does this and gets their attention, and then I come out of the tent and I scare them, and I get that good scare. And my supervisor comes in with a killing it card, and he's like, "Hey, I was in the other room, and every time guests came through your room, I heard him scream. Here's a killing it card." Like, and the biggest tool we have is each other. I wouldn't change my cast that I had for anything. You could take the tents out. You could take all that decorations out. If you put me in there with my cast, I guarantee you I'm gonna scare someone.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love that. All right. Do you have a favorite Halloween memory or tradition that's not related to your work at Knott's?
Lawrence is saying yes. So we'll
Lawrence?
let you go first, Lawrence.
I do. It's not related to my work at Knott. Technically, it's not related to my work at Knott. Realistically, kind of is. Um, my mask's here. I don't know if you can see them. I'll grab them. I'm not putting them back up because it's a pain. I made this when I was like 16,
Yeah.
15 years old. It's a beautiful Jason Voorhees mask. I made it. It's
Wow.
very cool. It's very
Wow.
scary. And I made this guy here. Now this one, I love this one. This one's great because I have this tradition that I do by myself every year. If I can. And I feel like maybe I'm hoping this last year was the last time I have to do it. I made this mask here. It's beautiful. I
That's
love it.
excellent.
It is. It's very scary. Dude. I remember when I got it. I went in. I got it. I finished bathing it. My mom was laying in her room, and I put it on, and her room was dark. And I just walked in there. I just stood in the doorway. She saw me. Oh, it was so fun. But I made those masks because what I do in my neighborhood is I go out and I scare the kids trick or treating,
Yeah.
and which isn't as safe as doing it at Not Scary Farm because I have no laws protecting me out there. I've got no security to call. I got no nothing. So you got to be real careful.
True.
My favorite memory from that was my first ever haunt scare. Even though it wasn't a Not Scary Farm, it was way before I would have been 16. And I have sliding knee pads. I have the sliding shoe slider gloves. I did absolutely none of the training that they do at Not Scary Farm. I simply learned how to make all this stuff by watching YouTube. And I went out there and I was like, I see this group of kids and I want to scare this group of kids. But at the same time, they're kids. That's not right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait for these kids to go up to this house to trick or treat and I'm going to scare their parents. And I did exactly that. So these kids go up, and I'm sitting around the corner. I'm stalking them like a weirdo. And I come around the corner, and I'd walk around just like anybody else in a costume on that night. And I run up, and I hit that slide, man. And these moms screamed so loud, ah, whatever. And then one of them pulls out their phone and says, "You see them two little girls over there? Go scare them." The kids record. And it was right then I was like, this is the thing for me, man. Like I wanted to do it. I've done it, and now I know I'm good at it. And I was like, I gotta keep doing it. And that was probably my favorite memory. Other than that, if you don't want like anything scare haunt related, carving pumpkins with my family.
Love
Carving
that
pumpkins with
one.
my family.
Love that one.
Awesome.
Alex, any Halloween traditions you love?
Honestly, no, because it's interesting is that with my family, we kind of stopped doing Halloween together because of the fact that I work haunts. So like for us, it's like Halloween is like every day that I'm working haunt. And I will bring up this point is that I feel like for me, the actual day of Halloween feels kind of flat to me just because realistically I'm celebrating Halloween for a month and a half. So like by the time we get to the finale, I'm just like, well, that's over anyways.
Yeah.
But I remember like my favorite thing, I used to do this with my cousin because before I did Not Scary Farm, we kind of did a semi-home haunt for like 3 years at her house on Halloween. And like we tried so hard to like get up like a tiny like little walkthrough, like those canopy tents, just like whatever, and like just work with her front yard, her house, because like it was like the perfect setup because I lived in an apartment at the time. So we did that for 3 years, and I kind of miss those days. I'm not gonna lie. That was like before like I officially became like a haunt monster. Like I kind of do miss that too.
Yeah.
Definitely. Miss Nightmare Reviews says, question for both. Favorite silly, funny moments that happened in your mazes last season?
Lawrence is already laughing.
Miss Nightmares, you shouldn't have asked that question. You already know what my answer's going to be.
Maybe that's why she asked it.
Alex, you want to go ahead and take that one?
So I posted this on my story like the day it happened, but okay. So she was in the room with me, like, we were like scare partners, like we shared the graveyard on that top spot. And I think it was her second night off. Okay, I'm going to tell you the story of the first time it happened. It was like week 2 of haunt. It's like day 5. She came into, I believe, pre-scare at the time because, the 4 backlot mazes, you can go into it like in the sunlight, basically before the sun goes down. And she came in, and I thought she was taking a video, but I was inside that mausoleum, and I see her coming. Like, she's literally like, she just turned the corner. She's about to pass that catwalk. I pressed that trigger to like make like the door like hiss and like light and like whatever it does. I run at her at like full speed, and she like screams and backs into the corner. And then I just turn around and I walk like a normal person and just close the doors.
She said
The
it was
second
she
time
scared
it
to stay.
happened, the second time it happened, it was like way later in the season. It was like, I want to say almost towards the end. And my friend, Adam, who was one of our daybreakers, he was 9 times out of 10, he was in the very first room, like just kind of like talking to people and scaring at the same time. He was really, really tall, hard to miss. He comes onto the
blonde guy?
catwalk. Huh?
The blonde guy?
Yes.
Yes, with the
Yeah.
bread.
Yep. That's him, the icon himself. So he comes up onto the catwalk, and I think I was tying my shoes or something because they came loose, or I was tying like because berserkers, our robes and like our pants had like these kind of like bell ties. I don't know why. It was just part of the aesthetic of the costume, and they would come loose because we're doing so much. So I was fixing it, and he's just like, all right, she's coming into the maze like right now. And I was just like, oh, I thought in my head, oh, she's in line, so I'll see her in like 2 minutes. No, I look up and she's walking right there on the ground with her camera. I pressed that foot pedal and I like ran at her. My braids like flew out, and like she got so scared that she screamed, pulls over to the corner, like because you know how like in the graveyard, right next to the mausoleum, there's it says "Welcome to Valdonia," and it's like a
Yes.
thing sticking out of the ground.
Yes.
Standing right there, this whole group that was behind her is just like, well, she's a goner. Passes by her, is like, we're just gonna let her go, like she's by herself, whatever. My friend, my other daybreaker friend, is inside the doors, inside the mausoleum, and she didn't press it, but like sometimes we would just like slam it open because it still was effective. She slams it like 2-3 times, keeps screaming every single time. And then she finally gets the cart. Like she took a breather. Like she was there for like 5 seconds. Like she was like traumatized that I like fully like just did that. I didn't think she was gonna get scared. I was just like, she knows where I'm at. It's like she texted me that night. She's like, I thought you were behind the pillar. I thought you were like literally anywhere else in the room. I didn't know you were right. I didn't know you were crouching down because people were used to me standing up. Because like for me, I don't mind when people can see me. I just go for it, and for me it just works out. I know that that's a challenge for a lot of other monsters. They're not as comfortable being seen. So in that case, I was like, I was doing what my friend the first season of Bloodline used to do. She would literally like crouch down and like fully bend over and wait for people, and like you wouldn't see her. Like you didn't know she was there. So when I did that, traumatized her.
Oh.
And then
Oh man.
poor Adam comes all the way back around. He's like trying to guide her because he was like, I guess like our tour guide, Daybreaker, in a way. He was so funny. And he was like, I thought you like disappeared. I come out screeching, and she's still whimpering. I'm like, I remember I told her, I was like, you got scared in your own maze, in your own room by your coworker.
Oh
Right.
man, that's great.
I feel so bad, but sometimes I rewatch that video because it's just so hysterical for no reason. It's just like it was not planned. It just happened.
Just magic.
Love you, Destiny.
A
Probably
happy
watching
accident. Lawrence, what do you got, my friend? I can tell
You
you're
know-
eager. You can't wait to tell us.
There's so many things I could think of and I could say right now, and they'd all be so funny. But the first one that came to my mind, and the first one that that's why I was laughing, because it was the first thing I thought of. And if it's my favorite, I don't even know, but it's the first one that I thought of. First funny moment. I mean, you can make like an hour-long montage of them, but this is the first one. This is what would start that montage. I'm in my tent. This lady comes through. She's on her phone. She's Facebook live stream, Instagram live, something like that. And she's talking all this smack to these monsters, man. And she comes through. My compatriot does her thing, and she's talking smack, and I come out behind her because she's facing this way. She's facing the campfire, and I'm in that tent on the other side. And I come up behind her, and I stomp, and I yell or whatever. She screams, ah! Turns around, looks at me, and goes, "You're not even scary." And I look at her, and I go, "But you are." And her jaw just hit the floor, man.
Oh.
And I
You
said,
went.
"But you are," and she was like, "It was so funny." I was like, it was the perfect comeback, and I mean, it was just great. And I even got to use it a couple more times in the season. People would be like, "Oh, you're not even a monster," and I'd be like, "Well, whatever." And her jaw just hit the floor, and it was so funny to me, because like she was bad. Because all these other monsters, they can't talk back. They're in like a mask or they're in a
Right.
character, and be like, "You're not even scary," and they're a monster. I'm
Yeah.
a punk teenager, man. I
Right.
scared her. She comes out and goes, "You're not even scary." And my first thought was like, "Well, then why'd you scream?" But then I was like, "But you are." And it was just perfect, beautiful justice, played out greatly. I get to think of so many other funny moments of like guests falling over and getting because they were so scared, or
Oh my
things
I
gosh.
like
bet
that,
one of
scaring
people fall.
coworkers, and it was great. We had one blackout. He was awesome. He was so easy to scare. It was awesome.
And it's funny because technically that room you're in is probably the least scariest room in that entire maze. Come to think
I
of
bet
Oh,
it's because you
Lord.
had the scariest actor in that room. Let me tell
That's
you.
it.
right.
So, yeah.
Oh man.
Question from Saul, our friend from Mesmer. He asks, best meal to eat after the day.
Oh, food. Let's
So
talk
like
about food.
after like haunt's over,
After haunt,
or like
like going home. Let me
I'm
tell you,
thinking that's what he meant. He just says
it's
question for
that
them,
cup
best
of
meal
water I drink
after the
right before I
day.
go to bed, man. Let me tell you.
Is it like a late night Denny's run, a Jack run, or what's the meal for the night or when you get home?
so many people go to Denny's after haunt. Like me personally, I'm just like, I want to go home and sleep. I mean,
Right.
it's funny because for me personally, like at my day job, like I love working. I love doing a job that like makes me tired, because like I've always had like a hard time falling asleep. So like I go home and I actually can rest. Like I feel rested. I don't know what it is when it comes to haunt, unless because at the time I wasn't like working.
Says
I was
late
just doing
night
school.
meal.
I was just doing school. So I still had to get up for that, and it was like somewhat easy. But when I wasn't doing like this last season, like I just did haunt that one year of like me not doing anything else. Like I was kind of like on a rest after I did school. And I don't know what it was. I have such a hard time falling asleep at the end of the night. You have all that adrenaline still pumping in you. We have that obsession. I've been like, oh my God, who posted a video today? I got to go find footage of myself and my friends. Like, it's so funny. We're like, ooh, that's what so-and-so's makeup looked like today when I was not in the makeup room, whatever. Like, it's so funny. Like, I personally just like, I like to go home afterwards, but if I had food at the, like I bought food like at the park, I just kind of finished that. But for me, it's like a nice cup of hot tea with like a bunch of honey and a slice of lemon. Like that's just for me.
Yeah.
Food, it like is I have such a weird relationship with food during the season, because like we're so go that
Right.
like I feel like I eat less during the season, but
That's
when
true.
I do, I make sure to eat like more than I normally would. If that makes sense.
No,
like,
that totally makes sense. I understand. Yeah, it's like you probably don't have time to think about food because you're just like you just said, you're just go. You're like, what's food?
My family started doing meal preps like for the week. We're like, all right, here's what we're having. Here's what you can take for lunch, because we don't really have time for any of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it makes sense. Lawrence, any
For me,
food
man, I
food
mean,
choices?
like I said, this is how I explain it, because because there's some people on here aren't gonna know. If I say Covina, they're not gonna know where that is. So like when you go to the top of Supreme Scream and you're on the north facing side and you see those beautiful San Gabriel Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
I live right at the bottom of those.
Okay.
Like right at the bottom. It's a heck of a drive,
Yeah.
especially at 2 a.m. I mean, I don't like coffee. Never have. I had to start drinking coffee so that I wouldn't fall asleep. I would tell my mom and be like, "Mom, I saw the shadow people on the 57 freeway again. I was driving and I thought people were running across the freeway, and when I pressed on my brakes, they disappeared." And like my mom was like, "You need to drink coffee." So I had to start drinking coffee. just so I'd stay awake because I was hallucinating because I was so tired at the end of the night. And I would always have this water bottle with me. This was my water bottle. This was, if you went through the grimoire and you came through at a bad time, you might have even seen me drinking out of it. I'm not gonna lie, that happened a couple of times. I'd be taking a drink and a guest would come through and I would close the lid and throw it because it's not 80s or whatever. And that happened a couple times, or like, and I would get in my car after haunt and I would sit there and I would have whatever water I had left in here and I would drink all of it. And it would be the most refreshing, like warm water you could ever have in your life. It's that because your body, like when you're in the maze, you're go 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 go, and then you stop for just that little bit and you crash,
Mhm.
and you crash hard,
Oh yeah.
right? And that's why you need that coffee, because once you start thinking about it on the drive, then you kind of get back into that, like you start thinking, oh, what could I do next? And then you might even like practice, like you're making your noises in the car. I've done it before where I'm like, yeah, I practice like, well, there you guys are. It's about time you showed up. You practice it in the car, and you get that adrenaline going. But when that moment haunt ends and your body realizes it's done, you take off that sweat-filled costume that you've been wearing all day, it seems like, and you hand it under that yellow chain, and your body just crashes, and you're like, and you finally, because and this isn't no big secret, man. Most of the seating backstage doesn't have a backrest, and you can't sit back. Like where my maze is in the Grimoire, that's where like our cafeteria is, and they've got all like these picnic style benches out there, and like inside they have some chairs, but those are always taken. But like, you got like those picnic style seating, and you can't sit back. So you sit back in that car for the first time, and you feel your back. You actually feel your spine for the first time all night. Excuse my dogs if you hear them. And you just crash, and I grab that thing, and I feel it, and I feel there's like that much water in it. And I'm like, I drink it, and I'm like, it's the best water I've ever had. And that's my post haunt meal, because I like I said, I live at the bottom of those mountains, and it's far away. It's not close by. Some people, they got time to stop. I don't. If I'm stopping, I'm getting gas and I'm going home. I'm tired. I'm not. I get off at 2. I'm not getting home till 3.
Right. Yeah.
And showers. We have a shower curfew in our house. You can't shower after like 9. So I gotta wait till the next morning to shower.
Oh man.
But after smelling myself all day, I don't smell myself anymore. I might smell myself. I might come into my room on that off day and be like, it kind of smells in here, man, with my sweat-soaked sheets on my bed. But yeah, that water, that
We've got a
sweet
question from
water.
Brave Shift Cosplay. She says, I may have missed it, but goals for 2025, scaring or in general?
Alex, what do you have any goals for 2025 as a scare
Like
character?
life goals.
Scaring or life goals?
Okay, I'll say life goals is this year for me, because like Scary Farm to me was my first job, but like what I do now is like what I consider my first like real like adult everyday job. So I feel like I'm at a stage with like my family where I'm like I'm trying to do like more to like pitch in and like grow more as like an emerging like adults in life. So I'm working a lot on like myself as like a person in like that type of like independence and like getting used to like working like a normal everyday job and just like kind of being more brave going out like places on my own, like things that I'm gonna have to do. And like in general, I'd say for like haunt goals, I don't know if
Let me add to this question. I remember we asked this question on our previous stream. We're going to assume that you both are going to come back for Scary Farm this year. We're going to assume you both love your roles that you are currently in right now. But if you had a choice to do something else, whether it's in the same maze or out on the streets, or like, what's your dream haunt character? Like, if you could choose something else there besides your current roles, what would you like to do? Or are you guys happy with what the roles you guys have now? Alex, since you're already speaking, what would you choose another character in that maze? Well, you got to do something else, right? Because
Yeah,
Bloodline
plot twist to the people who
plot
don't
twist,
know.
right?
I can't go back to my role. My role has been
It's
discontinued.
gone. It just hit me now that I said that. So
I'm
this
like,
question's gonna be, you're gonna have to do something different. Would you
yeah.
prefer another maze, or would you like to do the new maze that's coming, or 2 new mazes that are coming?
It's a new scare zone.
And new scare zones. Correct.
I've been
Oh,
asked this by a lot of people, especially like backstage and like by some of the, I talked to a couple of the managers about it. Like, I personally don't really have a preference of maze or streets because I've done both, and a lot of people say that it's so different. I'm gonna tell you a secret. It's the same feeling to me of scaring someone, whether I'm confined in a room or if I'm out and about, because I'm doing the same techniques in different styles.
That makes sense.
So for me, I have had a taste of both. I'm pretty satisfied with either. If I could choose a maze, I love Eight Fingers 9 so much.
Dude, it's a great one.
I'm obsessed with the woodsman characters.
I could see you in Eight Fingers 9 all day long.
I feel like they would put me as a boogeyman.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Just because the hair.
Yeah.
I would love to be a woodsman. I don't know if they would cast me as that character, but like I am like so obsessed with like the tribal style like makeup that they do. Like they're the ones that have like the deer skull, like antlers.
Yes.
Right.
I think those are so amazing.
Okay, we're gonna speak it into existence. We're gonna manifest this because we want to see you in there next season, Alex.
Yeah, like I don't really have a preference. I mean, I have ideas in mind that a few people know about for like possible zone characters, but will they happen? Well, we shall see.
Yeah.
If they happen, they happen. If they don't, they don't. My one dream character that we're gonna call it a dream character because I don't think this would ever happen again at like Knott, or at least not for a very, very long time. Like I said, I wanted to be in Fiesta so bad. I want to be a Sugar Skull. That's what people know me for. I have like a persona like outside of that I post about once in a while. So if that could happen, that would be great. Like managers like know about that and be like, if Fiesta comes back, I'm like, y'all know who to talk to. Just you know what I mean?
Hello, call me. I love it. And I'm so disappointed that's not around. Like it's already set up for Dia de los Muertos. I don't know why it's gone. It's such a missed opportunity to just keep it.
Yeah, and I've been hearing a lot of like not just like employees, but a lot of like YouTubers and like guests and like just streamers like have in general been talking about that more and more for the past couple of years. It's the topic of like when they say there's no place to hide, it's like there's kind of a few, but like kind of not. It like Fiesta definitely is one of them that I would say they should look more into in the future if they wanted to do it.
I feel like that there's no place to hide. It's like look at Forsaken Lake. There's not like what's there year round is nothing. They got to bring all those decorations. They could easily do that for Fiesta easily.
Yeah, and that's what's so interesting because Forsaken truly is a built zone because that setting is there, but like the props and everything that makes the zone is built in.
It's built in,
right? And then Carnival, same thing. There's nowhere for them to hide. It's bright. It's lit as a Christmas tree. Like where are they gonna hide?
Hang time's really bright.
That's the challenge that I think that I will give Carnival props to is like, not like I said earlier, a lot of people have a really difficult time feeling confident when you can be seen easily. When I was in Dark Entities my first 2 years, I kind of just took that, like I was 17, I just turned 18. So at that point, I was just like, we're just going to go for it. And if these people can see me, they can see me like, oh, well, we tried. And that's what I love about like Carnival and Goring 20s as well, is that they don't have that dark lighting to hide behind. They just go for it.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
let's
and
wrap
honestly,
up with a couple last ones. When
Lawrence,
you're done here, Lawrence.
Go for it, Lawrence.
I just want really quick. I just want about that whole lighting thing. I feel like if you want to be on streets but you need that dark lighting. Like you can't scare without it. Like you're not gonna make it on streets
Yeah.
because that's like the whole thing with like they want you to do this, that, and the other thing is when you're then this is year round Knott's terminology. When you're on stage, you're on
Mhm.
stage the whole
Yeah.
time.
That's
If
true.
you can be seen by a guest, you're on stage.
You're on stage. That's
Mhm.
right.
Yep, there you're on stage, you're in character, you're talking different, you're walking different, you're doing whatever you need to do.
Right.
Going back to the original question, 14-year-old Lawrence has had his mind made up for 5, coming up on 6 years now. And he has wanted to be on Ghost Town streets this entire time because that's where he was like, this is something I want to do. I don't know what just happened. I want to do it. That's what it was. And now I know what happened, and that's what happened. That's where it happened. And I want to do it, and I got to be there to do it. And that's just my dream. I don't care.
That would be
Dude, if
awesome.
I'm on Ghost Town streets, they can make me a lamppost on Ghost Town street. I'll be the best darn lamppost you've ever seen in a scare
I
zone.
love it.
And I'm
Love,
like, I
love,
just,
love.
Plot twist, he'll be a tumbleweed. He'll just like roll around.
yeah, it'd be a tumbleweed. I'd be like, yeah, I'd be like Adam Sandler in Ridiculous Six when he's a tumbleweed and he goes through that fort. He's just, he like, he brings his, he does like a cannibal just roll. That dude, best tumbleweed ever. If I could be there, I don't care if they pull up and they're like, dude, you're one of the people here. Like, you're one of just the people who live in Ghost Town and you're just scared for your life. And I'll be like, okay. I'd be like, absolutely. I'd be like, you never seen someone scared for your life the way that you're about to see me. Dude, if sheriff, Rob, whatever they want me there, I just
Really
want to be
cool.
there. That's where I want to be. Because in my opinion, like, you talk about like world building and how Knott's does it so much better. It's like nothing
Yes.
beats Ghost Town when it
Nope.
comes to that world building. Because Ghost Town is Ghost Town 365 days a year.
It really is.
It's what
It-
all the
it-
other theme parks are missing. Or they're
Mhm.
lacking.
because they like I think if anyone else isn't lacking in that, it's Disneyland. But let's be honest about Disneyland's haunt. It consists of the Haunted Mansion, and that's really it. And it's just Jack Skellington, and it's like but like it's cool, but like it's not scary.
It's family friendly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's family, and that's good. It's good that there's a place that families can go that's not
True.
intense, like
Mhm.
not scary farm or Six Flags. I'm happy they have that. That's good. Is it my cup of tea? No, it's absolutely not. My cup of tea is in the fog, and
That's right.
and I don't even like tea, but if it's in the fog, I mean, I love it.
Fog flavor tea.
Fog flavored tea, dude. Hold up, wait a minute. We might be onto something with that one.
Windy Girl in the chat asks,
Do you-
I have
do you-
a question for both. Are you a big horror fan? And if so, is there a favorite character you may use to inspire your character you create in the scare zone? In your maze.
In your maze.
In my maze, I mean, luckily, I just so happen to have like a 1980s maze in the 1980s part of the maze, which has been all those great and wonderful horror movies were coming out. All those awesome cliches were created. And, it's real easy to just look at like an old horror movie and talk how the kids talk. And, oh, that's real hip, dude. That's Wizard, man. And, that's a bodacious t-shirt you got on, dude. And yeah, it was real easy to just fall into place in the big jigsaw puzzle that was the grimoire, because all these other people, they're like, oh, I'm in the Civil War. Oh, I'm in World War II. I do that with quotes. Like I told you, I do World War II reenactments, and I'm telling you right now, it's far from the truth. But anyway, like I said, if I sidetrack, oh, I'm in the Thanksgiving family killed it. And,
My roommate was in that scene.
Yeah.
And, it's just real easy to just fall into the easy cliche. Hey, what's up, guys? It's about time we found this really cool book. You're going to love it. And, just doing that and jumping out. That was my scare. That was that's so funny to me is I would jump out and be like, well, there you guys are. And people would scream because I jumped out at them. But unlike everyone else, I'm like, I found you guys. Let's go. And they're like, oh, you're a normal person. I got a lot of people that go, do you even work here? And I'd be like,
Oh,
and I'd hit him with the tried and true. No, man, I just camp here,
no.
And I'd hit him with that. I had one guest. He came
Good
up to me and he
answer.
would like lifted up my jacket just very carefully, and he was like, "Do you have a name tag?" And I hit again. No, man, I just camp here.
I love it.
Actually, I think I told him there's a name tag on the cooler in my room. It's a little. It says, "Hello, my name is," and there's like some graffiti on it. And I told him. I think I told him about it. I think I told him it's on the cooler. I go, "Oh, I left it on the cooler." I think I told him that. And if he found it, I don't know. If he found it and he went in there and he was, "Oh, look, there's that name." That would have been really cool. But if not, uh, everybody else in the who works in the maze knows about it, and they're like, "Yeah, that's a smart thing to say."
Wow, that's fun.
It's fun. Alex, what do you have to share?
I wouldn't say that I have any movies or like show or novel that inspires or helps my character. A lot of it kind of just comes from like intuition of like when they tell me something, like when they give me the character, I kind of try to have like immediately like, okay, what do I already want to do? And what do I not want to do? For the Berserker and Bloodline, outside of like the previous experience of having done it and then taken like a gap year and then being put back, a lot of it was kind of like me because I went to school for biology. Like I did ecology specifically, which is like it's kind of like how you study how nature and the things that live in nature interact with each other, like ecosystems, all that. So
Mhm.
I kind of took a lot of it of like predator ecology of like how would a predator stalk its prey? Because in that room I was in, my room was very environmental scarce
Mhm.
instead of just like normal ground scarce. So I really played around with both being able to be seen out in the open, but also like using the environment to my advantage to like further my scares, especially on like that top platform. Like that was like the best like way to like describe that, especially if I was crouched down and like people couldn't see me.
Yeah.
As far as like being like part of the horror community, I would actually say I haven't been part of the horror community until very recently, because I didn't really grow up caring very much about horror. Like my
Mhm.
family kind of did, kind of didn't. Like my mom loves Halloween, like just Halloween in general, like the whole aesthetic, the culture, everything. So I want to say it wasn't until very much later in life that I kind of fully grew into liking horror, because I would say that there's a haunt community and there's a horror community, but there's a lot of overlap,
Mhm.
like in my opinion. And I would say that I was mostly like a haunt person, but now I'm kind of like more both. Like I had horror growing up, and then like as I got older, it slowly built. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Very nice.
All right.
Well, first of all, thank you guys so much to the both of you for spending. Look, we went out over 2 hours on this podcast, FogCast, our second episode. I want to thank you both so much for being here. And before we wrap it up, I asked our previous guests on our previous stream this question. I want to ask this to you guys because gratitude is very important in our lives. We're so grateful for the things that we have and that we don't have. This question's for both of you. What are 3 things that you guys are grateful for as we sit here today? Lawrence, we'll have you go first.
I am a religious person. A lot of people in the haunt community aren't, and that's okay. I'm not gonna be like, whatever, you need to do this, that, and everything. That's not for me to say. My belief has always been, if I was here to judge people, the Bible would be very different, you know. And but I just want to say my first and foremost grateful thing is God, because you don't get anything else. At least that's my belief. If you guys believe different, that's all. That's up to you. That's in my faith. That's one of the great things that He's given us is the option to choose that. If whether we believe in Him or not, whether we believe what He says, whatever, however we live our lives. So one of the great gifts we have. Second thing, obviously, is my parents. If it weren't for them, I couldn't have gotten a ride to go to Knott's Scary Farm that first time. I couldn't have made it through school. I couldn't have done so many things that I've done and been able to do in my life without them. I wouldn't be here. You'd have someone else if it weren't for my parents. Uh, and but my third and probably my most like grateful thing, the thing I'm most grateful for, the thing I take care of the most, is my best friend in the whole wide world. He's a little Chihuahua. His name is Chimichanga, and he actually during haunt he had a seizure, which did affect my haunt life a little bit. And post haunt, he thought it would be a really funny idea if he would get two hernias. He just thought that would be the funniest thing in the world, and it cost me so much money. But in the end, after doing the surgery and after this long and difficult recovery that we're still going through, the extra time I've had with him, because I went through all that going through the surgery, that I've had with him, even if it's just been like 2 extra weeks as opposed to like when I would have put him down if I had to. It's been worth it. And I couldn't ask for a better best friend, and I couldn't think of anything else that I could be more grateful for than him, my family, and God.
Well said. Thank you for sharing
Lawrence.
that.
Thank you, Alex. Same question for you. What are 3 things that you are grateful for today, right here, right now?
Family is definitely one of them, especially like my mom. She's like one of my biggest supporters, and we're very close. And like for me, I don't have like the biggest family, like biggest like immediate like family. So it's like I always joke like we're kind of like a small tribe. Like we very much are. But I just appreciate like the support and like the love and like just the ability to always rely on each other, no matter what's going on. Like I'm always going to be grateful for that. Nature is a big thing that I'm grateful for, because I very much am someone like that is connected to the earth. You can call me a tree hugger if you want. I don't care. Like, it's just like, I went to school for it. It is like, I am one of those people that sometimes I just like think back. I'm like, we've been around for like 14 billion years at this point. Like, y'all ever think about how long that is and how much time and wonder that is looking at the stars to be like, we came from that billions of years ago and now we're here. And life's just interesting. Like, like we're all connected to the world and the universe, like in an actual physical sense. Like people forget that. And I guess kind of tying into it, third thing is I very much am just grateful for the gift of life. Every day I wake up and just see like what can be and what is. And that's what I love. I see life as, I try to see things for what they are, not what I want them to be or what other people want it to be. And I think that kind of just helps me live more truthfully and lovingly in what's going on around me.
I love that perspective. I think it's a good reminder too. There's always people that are watching that we don't know what they're going through. And sometimes sharing your perspective like that. And sometimes in the hard times, it's hard to find things to be grateful for. And sometimes you just have to get really, really basic with your gratitude. And I appreciate both of your perspectives. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for giving us such a long time of your night tonight. We appreciate you. Thank you for sharing with all of your friends, our friends, and everyone who watches this from here on out. We can't say that enough. We appreciate and value your time.
If you guys would like to share, where can we find you? Where can our friends find you on the socials? If you guys would be so gracious to have any followers come follow you.
Oh man, pay attention now. It's at Lawrence_11D7. All right,
we'll put it down here in the chat.
LORENCE.
You guys have it. You guys follow me. You guys have it.
We'll drop it.
Underscore.
You can also find me at the main gate at Knott's Berry Farm most days. That's where I work. I'm usually there in my blue shirt and khakis. And before we go off, and before I just want to say thank you guys for having us. Thank you for having me. I can't wait to not be able to sleep tonight because I'm going to be thinking about Haunt, and I'm going to be excited to the next few days. I'm like, oh, we're almost halfway there. You know, it's like,
You're getting close.
you just, yeah, you guys just you relit the fire going.
I love that.
Perfect. Thank you, Lawrence. Alex, where can we find you on the socials?
You can find me on Instagram at Gazarov15, like GAZAROV 15. Like Lawrence, I also work at Knott. I mean, I work at the hotel, so you can try to find me. I don't know if you will, because I'm too busy cleaning rooms and making beds that you're going to sleep in. So enjoy.
I love it.
We appreciate you guys so much. We're so excited for that feeling that comes with spring, and spring just means that we're that much closer to the season.
Mm-hmm.
And getting to know all of you has just been one of the biggest blessings that we're grateful for in our lives. And there's not enough thank yous to go around. So thank you for spending time with us. And we're just so excited to know you, and we can't wait to see where you guys are put. And please let us know where we're going to find you next year when you're able to tell us.
Trust me, once that announcement event happens, that's when everyone's like, guys, guess what?
Yeah, I'm not going on that 2-week trip to Ohio this year, so I should get an in-person audition.
Yes,
I should get an in-person audition,
you'll
and
be
I'll
there.
let you know.
I love it. I love it. All right, friends, we're going to put you backstage, and we're going to close out the show. Thank you.
Thank
And we
you
will
guys.
see
Thank
you guys
you so much.
in the fog.
Thank you so much. See you in the fog.
Yes, cannot wait. All
right, guys. What did you guys think? Let us know in the chats tonight. If you're watching this after this is posted, let us know. What did you guys think of episode 2 of the FogCast, folks? We'd love to hear from you. Again, if you guys are going to audition, remember, wear bright colored clothes. Think out of the box. Be a bigger character than yourself. Just a little bit of advice. And if you guys would be so kind, bring these hardworking ghouls some cough drops, guys. Cough drops are the keys. Those are the 2 takeaways I got from tonight. Living Dead Mom, what did you think?
It's just always fun to hear everyone's different perspective. We're all built different, and something different makes us all tick. And the way I tick isn't the right way necessarily. It's always nice to hear someone else's perspective, especially when it comes to gratitude. And it makes you think, it makes it snap and say, yeah, you know what? I need to think a little bit more about that, or whatever it may be. So always appreciate that. And it just lights that fire to get things going. We're going to start trying to do these monthly now as we're getting closer to the season, to continue to not just fire all of you up, but also, just like they said, the actors and actresses themselves, help them build that fire and get ready for those auditions, and finding their place in the fog or the maze, wherever it may be. And other than that, I think we're golden.
I think we're good. If you guys know anyone that works at Scary Farm, either helps create the magic backstage, helps bring it to life, or any characters, any talent, like I said, on or off stage, if they would like to be on episode, have them reach out to us at our Gmail or Instagram, livingdeadfamily@gmail.com, or directly on our Instagram. We would love to have each and every one of you guys on our next episodes coming here in the future. But thank you guys so much for joining in tonight. We had a great time. And as we say, we will see you all
a little later.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.